Hey everybody, my name is Chuck Staten, and you might know me as the producer of Tuesdays with Stories with Mark Norman and Joe List, or from the Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast, where I've done a lot of video work and hosted some shows on the Patreon over the years. But today I'm here to tell you about my podcast, Funbearable, with comic Ray Harrington and improv player Brad Rohr. We're celebrating our 100th episode of our podcast live at the Comedy Connection in East Providence, Rhode Island on Sunday, July 21st. So if you're in the New England area, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, anywhere, come on out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Our live podcasts are more than just a podcast. There's video elements, there's improv stuff, there's sketch stuff, sometimes there's prank stuff. We always want the audience to walk away feeling surprised, to say the very least, and it's going to be a great time. The show is sponsored by RI Food Fights, the best food organization in Rhode Island. The show is also sponsored by Tracy's Cream and Sugar, my coffee shop of choice in my hometown of Warren, Rhode Island, right on Main Street. So go to funbearablepod.com for tickets for our show, the 100th episode of Funbearable, on Sunday, July 21st at the Comedy Connection in East Providence, Rhode Island. The best way to explain it, I think, is that I'm Doc Brown, you're Marty McFly, and when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious shit. Actually, it's not a great metaphor. We're not traveling in any way or ramping up speed. Doesn't really apply. But funbearablepod.com.
We're good.
Whoa.
We're good.
Wow.
We're good. I got to remember my things that I'm going to talk
So we haven't recorded in how long?
Like 6 weeks.
Wow.
6 weeks?
Dang.
6 weeks?
6 weeks.
That's a summer relationship.
Did you ever get this Comedy Connection lip balm?
I did not. And that's not for your lips.
It's for some of my
It's
lips.
for something else.
It's for my lips.
The balm is
Which lips?
My anus lips. Remember I brought those up?
Yeah.
I wish you hadn't. And I wish you hadn't reminded us.
Everyone says that when they bring up my anus lips. But I need a little kiss.
Everyone says it when you bring out your anus lips.
I wish you hadn't.
It's got little curtains.
Oh. You know, there's a phrase for that.
I wish there weren't.
Speaking of our new sponsor, Miller's. Roast beef.
Oh, good stuff.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Funbearable. I am Brad Rohr.
I can't believe I came home for this. My name is Ray Harrington.
I'm Chuck, the anus lip man. Stay.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know what? Okay. Well, you know what? It sticks. That will now forever be your nickname.
The anus lip man.
finally, he said it to go with the business cards he's been handing out for years.
Yes. Yeah. Well, ever since he figured out you could do business cards on some websites where they put their brand on the back
Yes.
for a very, very cheap price.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just been coming up with it. He's been workshopping different names.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like to
Yeah.
have different business cards and see like what people's faces are like. Or like, well, I guess the audio listeners can't see it, but I did shocked and then like another shock. That
a different kind of,
different
There
shock.
were hues of shock.
yeah. Neither of them are happy.
No.
Just to be clear.
Your version of shock and awe is more shock and awe.
So what's up, man? I can't believe it's been this long.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
okay?
I think.
Are you? How long did it take you to recover from this trip?
Genuinely, a week. Genuinely.
Wow.
1 week. Truly. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think this is the longest we've gone without recording in the history of the podcast.
Yep.
And it was funny to communicate with you the entire time that you were out on the cruises.
Yeah.
Back and forth to Alaska. Is that the right way to describe it?
Kind of.
How would you describe it?
I would describe it as I bounced around Alaska and the Pacific Northwest.
Got it.
For 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It was
It's like a backpacking thing to find yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, only what I found was just darkness. I really did. We recently, or not recently, but last year we had an episode where I had come back from Alaska doing a cruise, right? Yeah. Working a cruise. And that was a 1 week cruise.
Yep. The Birth of Alaska Ray.
Yes.
Yeah. Alaska
and
Ray.
On that trip, I got on one ship in Vancouver, Canada.
Good ship, Lollipop.
That one sank. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it was a bad ship.
Well, the captain, I don't know if you knew this, clinically insane.
Oh, okay.
The captain was insane.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's steering left and right.
Yep.
I like
port
that.
and other side.
Yep.
Starboard.
Yes.
And then he's going bow to aft,
Yep.
and he's smashing into things. It was bad. It
All
was
right.
Looney Tunes.
So this time you were on the sloop John B.
Yes.
I think that as I get older, for some reason I invite that more. Like if we got on a ship and it was
Why are we on the
I don't know, but
ship?
you're there, man.
Oh no.
And they said, "Listen, the captain is clinically insane. Would you like to stay or leave?" I'd be like, full steam ahead. I love that.
diving off the back.
Are you?
I'm riding the anchor chain
I don't even
down.
know what the ramifications are
I
going
just
to be.
picture you like walking, like disembarking at the end and walking down the little gangway.
Yeah.
And you disappointed, like, right? And somebody's like, "What's wrong?" And you're like, "It wasn't that crazy." Right? It wasn't that
Exactly.
crazy. They said clinically insane. I expect a lot.
We
out of
made it
that.
back.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
He was more zany and wacky than anything.
What would you-
Uh-oh, we're going to hit this iceberg.
It's funny-
Uh-oh.
it's funny 'cause,
But then
like-
we didn't hit the iceberg.
He's wearing vibrant shorts
Yes.
instead of pants.
Yeah.
You know, he came out to meet people and he tripped and did a somersault and came up.
Yeah.
It's funny because I don't know what the implication. Like, if you went on the cruise and they were like, "Listen, just so you know, the ship, the captain is a great steerer of the ship, but he is clinically insane. Just so you know." What would you think?
I don't know. I don't know.
either.
I will say, after 3 weeks of what I experienced, at that point, if you caught me on day 23 of that 22-day trip,
Yep.
right, and I was still on another ship, and somebody went, "Hey, the captain is clinically insane," I would have just been like, "Yeah. Yep,
That tracks.
absolutely, for sure. He's insane, absolutely, yeah, and he will definitely target me. Great.
It's funny. I've never thought about this.
Attention ship, the captain would like to tell you that the voices have told him.
The turkey sandwiches. The turkey.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think that I'm realizing now the term clinically insane is just so ambiguous. You know,
It really isn't.
Yeah.
like no. I mean, like let's
There's
say
a lot of different ways to be insane.
let's say I'm going to
Sure.
a party and Brad's coming and he's going to meet everybody. And
Yeah.
he's walking up and I go, "Listen," I'm like, "Brad's a great guy. He's an awesome guy." I'm like, "Just real quick, he's clinically insane." And then I'm like, "Hey!" And then Brad comes.
Yeah,
I wonder
I'm like, I have a hot dog spreadsheet, and they're like,
That sounds interesting.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh, that does though get close to a genuine like fear I have.
Uh-oh.
It's an unfounded fear. It's one of those fears of like it's like saying, "Oh, I'm afraid of."
The alligator in my shower.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, it's not likely to happen, or somebody being like, "I'm afraid of being wrongly accused for a crime and then going to jail."
Brad
for
has
it,
that.
right?
I do.
Oh, that's fair.
I do, but I do
That does
so
make
many
sense.
crimes that I'm rightfully accused for.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
let me get credit for the ones I do before you start giving me credit for the ones I don't do.
Well, similar to that, my biggest fear in terms of unfounded, and I don't want to say biggest, I'm sure there's other ones.
Yeah.
But a big fear I do have is somehow being labeled crazy in a legal way or
Yeah.
something, you know what I mean?
Really?
The fear, okay, so there's a trope in movies, the wrongfully accused
Yep.
who goes to jail and didn't do the crime, right?
Yeah.
Or is running from the law, fugitive style, that kind of stuff. I didn't do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's another thing where sometimes somebody will be like institutionalized and they're not insane,
Yes.
or crazy.
Yes.
That's the one I'm more afraid of.
Has
You're afraid of
happened.
that?
Yeah.
I like famously, it's happened numerous times.
Yeah.
There was a big Nellie Bly. Does that sound right?
I don't
It was
know.
a reporter who like went undercover in like the early
Nellie
20th
Furtado.
century. No, this is way before.
No,
Nellie
this one is
No,
like
she
a,
covered
this one's
the
like
same
a
stuff.
bird.
Yeah.
No,
this
that was
one
Nellie
is-
Furtado.
She's
Yeah.
going, I'm like a crazy bird.
Right. Yes. Nellie
Yeah.
Bly.
yeah.
And
I
she
am not insane.
went
Right.
undercover and like had to have like wrote an
I'm
expose.
not insane.
I'm only kind of
You're taking me
quirky.
away.
And her
Put
editor,
me in a jacket.
her editor had to come in and say like, no, she's not crazy. She was writing this thing, and they're like, we don't believe you. And he's like, okay, here's the doctor thing from like when before, like she was examined before. She faked her
Horrifying.
symptoms.
What was she doing? I was too wrapped up in my bit.
She went to an asylum to like write about how prisoners
like
were treated.
undercover reporter, yeah.
And
Undercover.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Now, okay, you know the movie Never Been Kissed? Imagine if she was like, I'm going to sneak into an insane asylum and pretend to be one of the insanos.
And then she kissed somebody.
And then.
So she pretended to be insane?
Yeah.
And so she was so good at pretending they thought she really was insane?
Yes.
No,
well,
here's-
it's because like basically she got committed, and they're like, all right, she's committed, she's crazy, and they didn't believe her.
Anything you say.
Yeah, especially, coming from a woman in the early 20th century, you don't have a strong voice. There's not a lot of people who are going to take you seriously.
The whole thing is scary because once you are put in that institutional world, right, for anybody,
Yeah.
once you're put into that, once you have a label like that, what scares me so much is simply explaining, oh, there's been some kind of misunderstanding.
Yeah.
I am not clinically insane.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Saying that, they're like, this is what an insane person says.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like crazy people
Yeah, you
don't know
can't,
they're
you can't
crazy.
logic your way out of it.
Yeah, you
Ooh,
can't.
we should commit Chuck.
Well, I was just thinking, like, if you took all the
hilarious.
stuff from the podcast and you gave it to some kind of quack and he looked at all the things I said here, oh, maybe he would understand his performance. But anyway, I think you could probably have...
What if he recorded just our phone call, you driving home after the podcast saying, I meant that. I would chase someone through
well,
the
I
woods.
think
That
the
is
only way-
scary. That is scary. Scary thought.
The only way a psychologist is getting hold of what we do is if they finally bring one in for your defense at the trial.
Yes.
Right?
But, like, so you really think that?
I don't think it'll happen to me. It's just the idea of, would I rather be sent to jail for a crime I didn't commit, or be sent to a mental institution for being some kind of unhinged and not being that?
Yeah.
That one's way scarier. Also, once you're in there, the things that they can do are horrifying. Like in jail, it's like we all know the stuff, the stereotypes. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
You're blowing kisses at each other.
Yeah.
You know, sharpening a toothbrush. Things
Yep.
like this happen.
Toilet wine, yep.
That's like survival against the animal man, right?
Yeah.
When you go, if you get locked up in an institution of some kind, they can give you drugs that alter your entire brain, your brain chemistry,
Yep.
Yes.
your personality,
Yeah.
how you think. And that's what scares me more, is like losing the mental capacity that you have. You know?
There was a comedian online that granted, she does make, like, her comedy videos are her cats talking. It's fine. But she's like, yeah, like, I was
Oh,
committed.
this is that fuck Biden kitty that
Yes.
you keep talking about?
She's like, I was committed against my will, and they held me for 72 hours, and they didn't allow me this, that, and the other thing. And like, it is a harrowing tale.
Sure, and that's 72
that
hours.
can happen to any of us.
Yeah.
Where it was like, it's like she had made a comment to an instructor, and based on that, the police are like, no, we have to like take you in now. And she's like, can I get this, that? And they're like, nope, you got to go with us.
Yeah.
It was awful, like a terrible story. And I'm like, I'm just here for the talking cats, lady.
It sucks because, like, I think like one time me and Brad went to the theater and he was trying to sneak these nuts. Remember this?
A 100-calorie pack of
Are you tiny? Are you shrinking as you talk?
100
You got
calories.
higher and higher and higher.
It caught you off guard. You're telling the story.
Yeah.
We went to see American Idiot touring, and so they're like, no food in the auditorium. And in my pocket, I had a 100-calorie pack of peanut M&Ms and a 100-calorie pack of almonds.
Okay.
And so where I'm like, oh, Chuck, look at that sign, because I'm a rule meister. I'm like, look at that sign. No outside food or drinks. No, continue the story.
You tell it. I can't tell it.
But here's what's so crazy: if you had the label of "you're insane," right? You have an issue.
Yep.
This is all like it feeds into it. You know what I mean? You laughing like that, it's like, oh, it's because he's crazy. You know, and
Yeah.
you being like, I had a 100-calorie pack of this, and I had a 100-calorie
on
pack
it.
of this. You'd be like, yep, okay, insane. That's what I mean.
So we round the corner, and I'm like, oh, no outside food. And Chuck's like, oh, yeah? What about your nutsack? And there is an usher.
I said it to an usher, basically.
Like let's call her 70 years old if she's a day.
yeah.
And then I have to like clarify what he meant. I'm like, I snuck in some almonds, and she's
sounds
like,
like nutsack.
right. Yeah, I think Ray understood.
So anyway, that's like my favorite thing is like getting Brad in trouble with an authority figure, and he has to explain himself.
Yeah.
But playing with this whole like committed thing, it could be really like detrimental to his future.
No.
No, I don't think we should, for a goof, commit anyone. You know what I mean?
Not for a goof.
Not for a goof, but for a genuine,
We're
concern.
genuinely concerned about someone.
I know, but making a little bit of a curiosity and like the person has to be questioned in some way is so funny. You know what I mean? It's so funny.
I want you to explain all of this to the Innocence Project.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just funny, like a guy being like arrested for murder that he
I
didn't
was
do.
being cheeky.
Think about how funny it's going to be when he's exonerated after 20 years in jail for a crime he didn't commit. Pretty funny. And then when he comes out, we'll be like, got you.
Then we'll all blow our prison glitter in his eyes.
You missed all of the new millennium so far. Got you.
It's just funny.
Yeah.
I'll tell a story real quick. I hope the story is like not offensive in any way.
You know, because it's your story.
It has to do with someone who was committed.
Oh, maybe don't tell it then.
Okay. You think so? You don't know the story. All right, I'll tell the story, and then maybe we'll decide later if we need to cut the story.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, one time I came home to a place I lived. This is a long time ago. And I was living with a gentleman. And
The way you're describing it is worse.
so there was a woman in
I
our...
was living with a gentleman.
There was a woman in our place, and she seemed really weird.
Okay.
And I never met her before. Uh-huh. And she was wearing like a white tank top and like these very loose like gym shorts.
Okay.
Right? And like she was like very like loopy and like they were kind of drunk, whatever. And like my dog was there.
Hold on. Oh, before you got to the dog, I think you were just describing the pilot episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
You were Sheldon.
Yes.
I was living with a gentleman.
Yeah.
But my
And there
dog-
was a woman in our place. And she was wearing a tank top and loose shorts.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the dog kept jumping on her and pulling her pants down because they were like so loose, and she had this insane bush that kept coming out. And
Oh,
she
this is Chuck's draft of the pilot episode.
I hated
She's
it.
got an insane bush.
I hated this thing.
It's called Big Bush Theory.
It was just, but it was like, first of all, you know, pubic hair opinions aside, whatever. There's something wrong going. There's something bad.
I just want this known for the sake of everybody to understand where we are, right? This episode, before we started, was like, oh, it's been 6 weeks since we've recorded. Ray, you were gone for 3 weeks. We'll do a thing about the trip that you were on. And I didn't want to talk about it for the whole episode, but I do think it's insane that so far, the only information that's been given is I was in the Pacific Northwest for a period of time, and now we're on like this big bush. It's incredible. Please.
I was disturbed.
Okay.
By how casual,
Ooh,
by how casually she thought this was like no big deal that she was in a stranger's place,
A stranger's place, yeah.
and her, you know, this pubic hair is being consistently exposed, and she just thinks it's funny. It was really,
You know what though? She's on another podcast right now talking to two of her friends, talking about how like I was at this guy's house and he had a roommate and his dog kept jumping and pulling my pants down.
It was every time he said the word baloney, the dog
yeah.
would look for me.
Yeah, he trained the dog. So
He would say titles of the band Bush,
Yep.
and he would go glycerine, and the dog would jump.
titles. So glycerine. So anyway, my ex-girlfriend was there, one of them, and she went upstairs and went to bed when I got home. And this woman in my house, we'll call her Betty. I really don't know her actual name. She was so casual about this dog situation. I was like, oh, this is weird. And my ex-girlfriend went to, she was not in the room. She was upstairs. And the girl with my buddy there, I don't know if you remember this, she basically was like, so to him, let's call him Billy. She's like, hey, Billy and Betty. She's like, tell me about your roommate, even though I'm standing right there. And she's like, oh, blah, blah. You know, he's saying whatever. She's like, he's cute. And she came over to me and started putting her hands on my chest. And I was like, hey, you just met my girlfriend.
Insane.
I was like, you just met my girlfriend that went upstairs. Like, what's going on here? Like, that was really strange to me.
Sure.
And then eventually I distanced myself from the situation. And later on, I was
Post-coitus.
no, and I was back in that area, and her purse was there. And it was one of those one of those see-through purses that's made completely of acrylic plastic that you basically need to bring to like concerts or something. And she had her like license and ID, and a bracelet from a local mental hospital that was like discharged that day. And she must have met Billy somewhere. And I texted Billy and I was like, hey man, the vibes are bad. Like the bush, the
Hey
hitting-
man, I was just rooting through this woman's purse and I found this bracelet.
No.
Stranger's purse.
And I was like, it was almost like it was put there as like, haha. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
it was
yeah.
weird. And I said, like,
It's a lazy writer's like
Yes!
thriller moment
Yeah.
where they go,
Exactly. This is what I thought. I was
Look
like,
at the date.
I was like, this is such lazy writing. But
Yeah.
I texted him. I'm like, I'm getting
she
bad
comes
vibes.
out, you're telling me, pong who, pong who.
So- so-
being cartoon crazy.
Because the bush thing and the hitting on
Craig,
me.
take out me going pong who because it was weird.
And I like Pongu.
I didn't. It didn't get a reaction, so it was me just doing that to two bored men.
No, I liked it. And you know, the whole hitting on me and she just met my girlfriend
Yeah.
was inappropriate in the place that we live together. And I texted him, I'm like, I think this girl's got to go. You know, this is the next day. This is the next morning. And she was there for like another couple, like 2 days. And I was like, what? And I was texting him. He's like, I'll talk to you afterwards. I'll talk to you afterwards. I said, okay. And when she finally left, he's like, dude, he goes, the next day, he's like, when you texted me, like, I think she should leave. He's like, I agreed. And I said something to her about getting going. And she said to me, if you try to make me leave, I'm going to flip out. And so he goes, so I didn't know what to do. So I just was like, let me just play this cool until things organically move forward. And she goes and stuff like that. But it was a very weird situation.
Yeah,
That was right. They called me over to talk about math, and then she left like 20 minutes later.
Yeah. So anyway,
So what people don't realize is that Popeye was a comic strip.
Yes.
I thought you were going to do your favorite equation spreadsheet.
Yes.
But yeah, it was
Yeah.
quite a harrowing tale
Yeah.
of a weirdo.
I'd rather do that than do what I did the 3 weeks in
Oh,
Alaska.
yeah. I
I
mean-
would rather just deal with an insane lady for 3 days.
Well, she put her hand on my shoulder and clearly tried to like hit on me and come close to me, and I was like, "Hey, I gotta go," and that was it.
I would
just-
rather hit on you than spend 3 weeks there.
So-
I was able to skedaddle.
So
Yeah.
you went to Alaska, aka Seward's Folly, as we all
Yeah,
call
yeah.
it, and travel didn't go well. The shows went well for the most part. Some of them.
Sure, yeah.
But all the travel seemed like every other day. Ray was texting us like, "Well, I have to stay in a hotel for 7 hours, and they don't have a room for me until then. So, you know, say something nice to me." And Chuck's like, "Let me tell you about this new girlfriend of mine."
It was insane.
It was not a great-
was
Yeah,
like-
I don't
not
know
great
how.
travel.
I'm not bringing up stuff because I don't know what you want to say on the podcast.
yeah.
So it's kind of I'm just
so
like
here's the issue. Like, you know, it was for work.
Yep.
It was a work thing.
Yep.
And it was for a big company.
Yeah, Ray's an engineer for Raytheon. For those of you who don't know,
And so, I got the job because my name's Ray.
yeah, he puts the Ray in Raytheon. He always says,
And then Theon was
Yep.
there.
"Yep,
Greyjoy.
yep."
But no, so I can't. I don't know how much I want to say.
Exactly.
I'm real tempted to burn
it all
the
down.
fuck out of that bridge. Genuinely, like just torch that bridge.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are privy to all of the information.
Yes.
It is a burnable. It's burn worthy, right?
I just
This
want to hear
bridge
about
is-
the seaplane.
This bridge
Sure.
was made by rolled up newspaper in 1937.
Yeah.
And I got a little lighter just to throw your way, buddy.
Right. It feels that way. So I'll be as honest as I can be. You know what I mean? I just don't want to get into
Yeah.
detail about the company because it's basically down to that.
Yeah.
The company, right? And the travel being so insane. The frustrating thing is like, yeah, I went and I did 22 shows in 22 days.
Lot of shows.
Right? It's a lot of shows. What sucks is that the shows they weren't even secondary. They were ancillary. They were just this extra thing
Yeah.
that I didn't have time to think about until like I was backstage and about to go on.
Yeah,
And the
And
deal.
even then, sometimes I would get a phone call. This is not a joke. Get a phone call backstage. It happened, I think, on the second ship. So it was 7 ships. I have the numbers. It was 23 days, 22 shows, 8 flights, 7 ships, 1 seaplane, and a 7-hour overnight drive from Washington, D.C. to Rhode Island at the end.
Which was the
That
final.
I have no problem burning every bridge possible with that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And this was basically like, hey Ray, you got a great financial opportunity to do a bunch of shows in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
However, the venues / travel / lodging are going to be a little kooky.
Yeah, it was less than 72 hours on each ship for the most part.
Right.
It was the 7 ships. There were a couple where it was like maybe an extra day. But really what it was get on a ship one day,
Yeah.
maybe do shows, most likely not. The next day, do shows, and then like 6 a.m., I'm off that ship the
Right.
next day. So it's less than 3 days. It's about 48 hours, really, per ship. And
Yeah.
every other part of it was travel. And the company doesn't do it like in one department.
Yeah.
It's 4 different departments handling it all. And this one doesn't talk to that one and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And it was chaos and madness. It was just like red tape level stuff.
Yes.
Where I'm stuck in so many different travel scenarios. And it started at like the very beginning of, fly to Vancouver, and I'm supposed to get on a ship the next day, the first of the 7.
Yeah.
And get there at like midnight and find out that there's no hotel room for me because they didn't send in my info until 10 p.m. that night and they were already sold out. That's the beginning.
Yeah.
That's the easy stuff. And then from there it was insane because there's no one in charge. So you can't talk to someone and go, let's resolve this situation. Right. It was always like, hey, I'm going to take it upon myself to get the information that I need for the next thing.
Yeah.
Like I was saying a minute ago, there was a moment I got a phone call backstage, but right before I went on, like 2 minutes before the show starts.
Yeah.
And it's the last show of the night. There were 3 shows, so it was 10:30, right? At 10:28, the phone backstage rings. The stagehand grabs the phone, stage manager, whatever, grabs the phone, blah, 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 yeah, hands me the phone. And it's the admin director for that ship going,
You need to come to the bridge and steer.
well, it was just because I didn't know how I was getting off the ship the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was the first ship, right? And I was like, I know I'm supposed to get off of this ship in this port
Right.
and get onto another ship. No one has told me when I'm leaving or where I need to go. and it's 10:28 p.m.
Yeah.
And I get that phone call and it's like, hey, blah, 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 blah. You need to be at this spot on the ship at like 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Cool.
And I'm like, awesome. It would have been nice to know that a little earlier.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like that the whole way through. And my mantra became just saying when and where.
Yeah.
Right. Like somebody would tell me something and I'd go, okay, so how long would you like me to wait? And where should I go when I'm done waiting? Or something along those lines or to
Yeah.
that effect. And I only got back shrugs. Like, just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was insane. I went through like, there's 5 stages of grief.
Yes.
I went through like the 5 stages of just the madness of this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was at first it was like disbelief. Like, can you believe this shit? And then it was, okay, I'll be the guy. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
The take charge moment. Then the insanity of dealing with it took over, and then just nothing but pure depression. But towards the end, I remember texting Kalina, and I'm like, I don't like where I am right now. I don't like the mindset that I'm in. I found myself like walking very slowly around the ship.
Jesus.
Staring out at
Truly.
the water.
And it was
Well,
like,
it's like you're kind of extending the walk and how different
because
things
my
are.
brain was just like, well, all I'm thinking, the subconscious level of it is like, what's the point?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to get there, when I get there, there's literally nothing.
Yeah.
I don't need to do anything. That's what I was saying at the very beginning. The first time I went, had a full week on one ship.
Yes.
Did my shows, and the rest of the time when we would go into port and stuff, I would go out and experience Alaska.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where Alaska Ray was found, right? I did not experience Alaska for 3 weeks. The most time I had like off of a ship was one day in Ketchikan, a full day. And I was at a hotel, and the hotel they put me in was like pretty far away from anything. And the cabs are so expensive there, where I was just like, I'm not going to spend $100 to go to the downtown area.
Right.
And I've already been there. But like, that's the closest I ever came. I was human luggage for 22 days, moving around with trying to navigate. It's tricky. I can't say too much because it's close to what we were just talking about, actually. The fear of being put in an institution when you don't belong there. I started to feel kind of that way.
Got it.
I
Yeah.
started to feel like I am in some fucking Douglas Adams like institution of insane rules and regulations, and this person will only cover 52% of this situation, and the other 48 is over here. And why didn't you know that? And like stuff
should
like
have
that.
gone out through the window.
Like stuff like, you know, being told directly to do a thing on one ship, or every ship, and it's always been that way, and that's how it is. And then I get on another one, and I go about that situation the same way, and they're like, "That's not how it works." And it's like, "Oh no, it is, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It is. You're wrong."
I'll say,
You know?
when I worked with students for all those years, and this is something Chuck helped me realize, is that, you know, other people expect you to have a baseline knowledge. And so I have a ton of knowledge about this specific situation, but if a student comes in to talk to me, I cannot expect them to have the same amount of knowledge. So when Chuck worked at GameStop and somebody would come in and say like, I want the new Grand Theft Auto game for the Nintendo Wii, you know, there were clerks who would be like, Grand Theft Auto isn't on the Wii.
Right,
like
right,
the person
yeah.
is this,
Yeah.
but it's,
This is my number one like issue with like different, especially retail, where people are like, "Hey, you should know how everything works because I work here and I know how everything works."
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. You see, you work here,
Yeah.
so that makes sense. I don't.
But here's where it gets interesting. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
And it's always been like that on the ships. Everybody's just used to doing their thing, and you come in as an outlier where you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the very first ship I ever got on, you know, I board and I want to go to my room, and no one told me how to get there.
Yeah.
No one said, hey, you have to leave. You have to go through this door that says don't go through this door.
Right.
Right.
Go outside of the ship.
Right.
Walk along the outside walkway that's crew only, and then this one unlabeled port, like, or not port, latch door.
Right.
Hull door. There we go. Is it's not that one? It's not that one, but it's the one in the middle.
Yeah.
That's how you get into the crew side sleeping arrangement area, right? And now I do it normally, and it's just that's how you do it. That's how you get out there. I know the doors, right?
Right.
But that first time, no one explains it. But it goes beyond that. The insanity of this wasn't just, oh, you don't know. I've done enough of the ships now where I know those things. The situation is, as a guest entertainer, which is the phrase they use, the people managing the crew side of things, the admin for crew side, they look at me like, nah, you're a guest.
Yeah.
You're not crew. We're not going to do the thing for you. The guest side looks at me and goes, you're crew. We're not going to do that thing for you.
Yep.
And so I'm stuck in the middle, but it's also like the insanity of everything. It got to a point where something would go wrong, and I'd say about halfway through, I started going, oh, I'm actually kind of impressed. I didn't think of that getting fucked up. You know?
Yeah. Oh,
as
yeah.
simple as like, oh, on one ship, it's like I need to get on, and I'm going through the process of getting on, and this security woman is telling me that I'm 53 years old and my birth date is in October. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, it's January, and I'm not 53 years old. My friend Brad is. Do you have Brad's information?
But thank you.
But and her being mad at me, and she was like, "What's your birthday?" And I was like, 1/16/83. She was like, "No, it's not. It's October." And I'm
love
like,
it.
"What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?" And there was another guest entertainer who was like a singer standing next to me, and he's having a fucking meltdown. And this guy's been working for them for like a decade, and he's like,
Yeah.
"It's always like this." And it comes down to a computer system in the guest entertainment department.
Yeah.
Logs the birth date in a different format than the one for this security system, and
my
it's
God.
never been fixed.
Yeah.
So
Of course
it's
not. Why would it be fixed?
Why? So we're getting a little too far over the line of what I wanted to get into because it sucks.
That's
Because
okay.
it's tough because I, you know, I'm actively doing work for them, right?
I get it.
I appreciate.
We are currently on a ship.
It was just. It turned into a level. I jotted things down as I went along.
Okay.
Because I thought it would be fun, and there were a couple of positives, and at some point I did have to stop logging things because
Yeah.
I realized I think this might be a first draft of a suicide note.
All alone.
Yeah.
Only friend is my cat, Rosie.
The water keeps calling me. You know what I mean? The waves say Ray when no one's listening.
Yeah.
The
right?
siren song comes to me at night.
That's what it is. That's what it is. The salt air. You know what I mean? I want to be in the water because then I will be alone. That's the other thing. Is like 3 weeks.
Is there a call thing on the like the ships where they say like pirates and stuff would be called to like kill themselves or like jump into the water? Isn't there a thing?
I don't know. I mean, there's sirens,
The siren
yeah.
songs, yeah.
What is it?
Sirens are. It's supposed to be
like
like
mermaids?
Yeah.
basically like Bad Mermaid. A siren is supposed to be along like jagged rocks and stuff, and
Yep.
their song calls the sailors, and it's PSIREN, siren.
Yeah. It was in the Odyssey.
Interesting.
He got his crew to tie him to the mast, put wax in his ears. They put wax in their ears so that they wouldn't be tempted. He wanted to hear the song and live. And so they tied him to the mast so he could hear the siren song.
I read that. Yeah.
But
That's
also,
great.
I think it may have been a giant monster.
Yeah,
instead.
it's
You know,
Interesting.
A lot of stay out of the sea.
But yeah, it was 3 weeks of
Sorry, in Indiana we have corn sirens.
corn horns.
Yes,
They call it corn horns.
They play their corn horns.
Yeah. That sounds like
Yeah.
a euphemism. But
It
yeah,
is. That's why I want to go in there. Play my corn horn.
Could someone please play my corn horn?
somebody blow on this corn horn already.
Looking around.
It's more of a corn kazoo.
So you got a cornhole?
So to try and paint the picture of it, you have this insane bureaucratic level of
Yeah.
stuff to navigate that is broken. It's
Yeah.
not just weird or different. It's genuinely broken,
Yeah.
right? And I have no way of getting things cleared up or assistance. I have no agency. I have no power.
Yeah.
You know, my actual agent, speaking of like no agency, wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
And so it was like, what is happening, right?
Yeah.
And so you have all of that going on, but you're also you're packing and leaving every 48 hours into another situation, be it another room on another ship or a hotel room for a night and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
You're surrounded by people all the time, like everywhere you go.
Yes.
And it was on a good day, it was before I did shows. So nobody knew who I was. Nobody recognized me. They didn't know I was a comedian. And then as soon as I would do a show, the jig is up, right? Like they know.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff would be going on. And then I'm at airports every couple of days, every 3 or 4 days. I'm at another airport. If I'm lucky, it's a port transfer, so I don't have to do it for like 6 days.
Yeah.
But, in the airports, surrounded by people. Have you ever been traveling and you're in an airport situation and you hit your limit?
Oh,
Yes.
I did
Yeah.
have an 8-hour layover recently.
Yeah. But I specifically like with the people around you, or if you go to like a really busy place.
Yeah, I know
right?
what you mean. Yeah.
I always I am always in that situation, and then I hit like a hard line where I'm like, get me, I want out. Get me away from
social
everybody.
battery. Is what
Yeah, my
Brett
social
says.
battery runs down.
Yeah. I remember I was in, I think I brought it up on the podcast when I was talking about being in Istanbul.
Yeah.
And I was at the bazaar.
Yes.
And I hit like this 1 minute specifically where I was like, too many people. I am surrounded. So it was being like that, but then being alone
Yeah.
with no one else to like commiserate with.
I know.
At best, I would be talking with another guest entertainer.
Right.
But we would just be sharing like war stories of the fuck ups that have been happening.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
this happened to me. And I was, I was in a hotel room for 3 hours because they flew me out to this one place and they were just going to leave me in the airport overnight for a layover.
Right.
Yeah.
But my agent fought for a hotel room. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And then they would be like, oh, I mean, at least you got the room. a friend of mine who's a performer of some kind. He just got flown out here last week, and when he landed at like midnight, that's when he found out they had no hotel for him, and he had to wait in like just outside until the morning.
You're like, that was me. I was that friend.
That was me.
Yeah.
I think I killed that guy. So
There was a heel of bread.
Yeah.
We fought over it.
we fought hard. And it was but it's so lonely, and yet you're surrounded. It's like the Lost in Translation kind of thing they're trying to get at there.
Yeah.
I did start to feel a little crazy, right? And it was.
I can't.
It was
I really.
madness.
Because I know you. I've traveled with you. I know how you are as a human being. And I was just like, I can't imagine this dude in this situation. Like, I can't imagine because we really texted like a lot. You, me, and Brad.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can't imagine being there. Like, I don't know what your attitude was like on day like 19. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, it was just like days didn't matter anymore. Days.
Right.
If somebody said, "What day is it?" I'd be like, I can tell you what ship it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There was like just the process of doing things was why I want to get into some of the stuff.
Go for it.
It just turned into like sometimes it was comical,
Yes.
right? I sent a video to you guys on one of the ships. I finally get in. There's a regular thing of you get on the ship like really early in the morning.
Yes.
And your room, for a lot of different reasons, like you don't get access to the room for hours.
Yep.
You don't know when you will get access. They don't tell you.
So why do you get on so early and then the rooms aren't ready?
They get you on board. They want to get you on
wanna
board.
leave.
And usually they try and get you on before people are disembarking for the day
Wow.
to go out on ports, right? Because the other option is what happened to me on the first transfer in Ketchikan. Get off of a ship in the morning, go to the customs office, do that, then go to the next ship. I was at that customs office so often in Ketchikan, Alaska. The guy started to recognize me.
Oh, nice.
Other people, he would be checking their passports. By the end, he would just see me and go, "Yeah, you're fine," and wave me on.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And that was a positive. I did like the idea of like, yeah, for my job,
I'm a regular.
the Customs and Border Patrol in Ketchikan, Alaska is just like, yeah, that's just Ray.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's fun.
Yeah, that is fun.
But I get to the ship to get transferred to it, and they just opened the disembarkation for people to go out in the port for the day.
Yeah.
So they made me stand and wait, right? Because there's a gangway. There's
Yeah.
only so much room there, and people file out. Thousands of people are coming off the ship. The last thing that they want to do is stop the flow
Right.
to let somebody go up, right? Which would take 10 fucking seconds.
Yep.
Instead, I stood out in pouring rain on the dock for 1 hour with no protection,
Nice.
nothing covering me,
Yep.
just wearing a raincoat, my suitcase and backpack being soaked, and I just stood there for an hour while all the people on the ship walked by me because they were disembarking.
Yep.
I was standing there with a crew guy who was switching ships too. I don't know what he did on the ship. He was a crew side guy. He made it about a half hour waiting. And then he looked at me and went, "Fuck them. They can wait for me."
Yeah.
And he turned around and walked away. And I never saw that man again.
No one did.
No one did. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So, but then it would turn comical. I sent you a video. I got
he
into
was
one room.
shot in the back over a matter of $80.
Yeah.
So I got into a room finally after you wait, you just don't know. Okay, when can I go to my room? Where should I go to get the access to it? And then you get a shoulder shrug.
Yep.
So I finally get in the room and I'm in there and I'm exhausted and I'm like laying on the bed. And that's when I start to hear, and I sent you guys the video of it. I hear like,
Yep.
like that. And I'm like, what is that?
Sirens.
There was a singer in the room. Yeah, there was a singer in the room next to me warming up for a full hour. For a full hour, I was hearing all of these exercises.
The pigeons.
Yeah, and then the next day it happens again. It was comically
Yeah.
funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you sent me the video.
But
that
it's
was
stuff.
funny.
It got to a point where I'm like, I don't even know what the next thing's gonna be.
Right.
Yeah.
I get on one of the ships, and then I sent a video to my wife. It was like 12:30 at night. I had to be up at I think 4:30 because I had to leave that ship super early.
Yep.
And this was new. The back hallway of where you go for crew side, that door is open. There's all these boxes back there. They must have gotten some kind of shipment for the stores that are on the ship. So there's dudes opening all the stuff up, and they're blasting music in the back, and it's Spanish hip hop,
Oh,
right?
all right. Well, I'm down for that.
And they're blasting this music at 12:30 at night, and they're hauling flatbed carts through that hallway. And like the rooms are not soundproof.
Right.
The door,
Yeah.
you can see a little bit of the hallway. So I'm laying there and I'm just hearing like, "Get the fuck up." And I'm like, I don't know what's happening anymore. I sent a video to my wife. I'm like, look at this. There's a fucking warehouse right outside my door. I don't know. Now I'm just complaining about little stuff.
No, it's all right.
But it did become my own like planes, trains, and automobiles,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
one-man planes, trains, and automobiles. Like this is so. I shouldn't even talk about any of this. The random tapping sound from the room above me when we were having like it was like a bad weather situation. It's when one of the ships was like at its roughest.
Yeah.
Something was in a room above me that when the ship was rocking was tapping.
Did you murder anyone and then like hide their heart?
Just sort of my own hopes and dreams and future.
Did you hide the heart in the ceiling? Because that might have been
That
what
could
you
have been
heard.
it. Yeah, that could have been a telltale heart.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know, but yeah. But what bothered me about it is it wasn't
Regular.
It was asynchronous.
Yes.
It was irregular, and it
Yeah.
was so the tapping. I started to lose my mind. Let me get to some positive stuff. I guess
I want to hear about the seaplane. Is that a positive or a negative?
positive.
All right.
Even the hotel stays. This is why it was insane. This is bad podcasting. I'm sorry, because it's just complaining and not like, because I can't get into the details of the suffering.
Yeah.
And I know stories of things going wrong are funny, but I can't give the funny details.
Right.
I can do it for a few. Like
Yeah.
even the hotels. The first hotel was the one where I was in it for like 3 hours, and that goes to the seaplane, right?
Yes.
I flew from Vancouver, get off one ship, go to the Vancouver airport,
The Couve.
fly down to Seattle, then fly up to Juneau,
Okay.
right? And then land in Juneau at like 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
That's the night they just wanted me to stay in the airport overnight for a 5 a.m. flight the next day.
Right.
I get the shuttle over to the hotel. It's not a great hotel. You get there, the people working there are very nice, but the place is like there's a sign right out front, like as you're walking in the entrance that says "No spitting." Right, this is where I am.
Yeah.
So I go in and I see the
Sorry.
room.
Chuck has that sign next to his bed.
He's anti Hawk Tuah.
No, that's that.
no, pro Hawk Tuah.
I have to reconfigure this sign.
More like
At
Hawk
a certain
Tuah.
part, stop spitting.
How will I know the part?
Oh, you'll know. I'll give you a wink.
When you really want to spit.
So I'm at this hotel, right? And I genuinely felt like a prisoner, like someone who was in jail, getting out for the day because their trial is at the courthouse.
Okay.
Like that's how it felt.
Yeah.
Like I was at that hotel like, yeah, I mean, I'm going to jail for a long time after this, but fuck yeah, freedom. Like I'm in the room, I'm like, ooh, I got a full-size shower.
You're like, I can walk 10 steps.
No joke, I went into the room and I started like going like this with my arms, like waving my arms and going, there's so much space. There's so much space, right? I did a little dance in the shower when I got in. I'm like, I can go over here. I can go over here.
Do you get super claustrophobic on the cruise?
Yeah. Like at a point, but that's more about the people. I just got used to the like.
How about the showers, though?
The shower is awful, but you get used to the process. And I described it to Kalina, my wife, when I got home of like how I had to take a shower.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh my god!" Right?
One leg at a time.
Like the shower is small. That's okay. I
Yeah.
can deal with that part of it. It's laughably small, but it's so short that when I get in there in the morning, when my hair's fucked up, like my hair is touching the ceiling of the shower. The shower head is very low.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're in a tiny space
Yeah.
and the shower head is super low, you have to bend down to it. How do you get to that? Because I know if I just simply bend forward, I'm going to hit my forehead on the wall.
Yeah.
Because it's so
Simply
small
going
around
like
you.
2 degrees, like
Yeah.
just tipping 2 degrees. So what I had to do every day to take a shower was when it was time to wash my face and my hair.
Yep.
Was very simple. You get in what is called a king's chair position. Do you know this phrase? I don't know if that's used in other things. When your back is against the wall, you kind of slide down the wall a little bit until your legs are It looks like you're sitting.
Oh, an
right?
isometric leg squat.
King's chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would do that. So my head was low enough, right? So I was describing that to Kalina. She's like, I can't. How do you? And I'm like, yeah, every day. Every day.
Ugh.
Every day. Every day. And this is what you have to do to, like, do you want a drink of water?
Of course. I'd love one.
Then take that shower, because you have to go out into the public area to get anything. I learned pretty quickly, only drink bottled water or the water that's available at like the restaurants or the buffet.
Yeah.
Do not drink out of the tap.
Yeah.
There was 2 nights where I had to take like medication to go to bed.
Yep.
And got sick both of those times.
Really?
Yes. And if you want a bottle of water, even though I'm a fucking like I'm working,
Yep.
they charge you for a bottle of water.
Good racket.
So what I learned very quickly is you get a free bottle of water when you do a show.
Yep.
So I would go, can I have 2 bottles of water for the show, please?
Yes.
And then take one back to my room.
Yep.
I used to bring around a water bottle,
Right.
And just refill that. They got rid of the refill stations, and now there's a sign on the water things that say, for hygienic purposes, don't fill them here. I'm like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do?
How much
Right?
water did you drink when you got sick? Just a little bit?
Yeah. But don't drink tap water on a ship. It's in a tank. That's just sitting in a fucking tank. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't. Oh yeah. So I was at the hotel, right? I felt like a prisoner, like set
Yes.
free. I was so happy to be in that shitty hotel, and it was like 10 o'clock at night. Nothing was open. I had been flying all day, right?
Yep.
From the port in Vancouver to the Vancouver airport to Seattle to Juneau.
Right.
I'm starving. I just want to genuinely, I just want to get a pack of cigarettes. I'm sorry I smoke. That's what I do. Whatever,
Yeah.
right? The first night, my dinner was, I had a cookie from a vending machine.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is where I'm living. This is my life. And it started to rain, and I said, what's the closest like convenience store from this hotel, right? And the lady's like, oh, it's like a mile down the road. You can just walk. And I'm like, it's raining.
Yeah.
And I have a 5 a.m. flight. I just want to make this a fast thing.
Yep.
And so I basically was like, look, here's the deal. I've been traveling all day. I got to leave in a matter of hours.
Yep.
If I'm lucky, I'm going to sleep for 3. Can your shuttle guy take me to the convenience store? I will tip him well.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll ask him. So she calls and she asks, I think his name was Eric. Asks Eric, can you do
Juneau
that?
Eric. Yep.
Juneau Eric. And she's like, he'll be here, right? And I'm standing there and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And again, I'm in my own hell of a planes, trains, and automobiles. So here's a fun, like, little side character that is going to chew that scenery, because Eric took like 10 minutes to
Yep.
show up.
Shows up, nightshirt, nightcap,
So he's from somewhere else. He's not at the hotel.
holding a lantern.
He's at the hotel.
Okay.
He's at a
The
different
reason
part.
he took more time than he thought was he rounds the corner. Hey, I'm Eric, right? Hey, I'm Eric. And he's rubbing his eye and he goes, sorry, I'm late. I have something in my eye. It's not coming out. I think it's an eyelash. So that's my
who's going to be
introduction.
driving you.
Yeah. And I'm like, I love this man.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. That's
Right?
great.
We hop in the shuttle. He's driving me down. We start talking. He's telling me about, everything going on. I love this guy, right? He seems like a real fun character.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just a straight up like scary movie David Arquette version character, right?
Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
do.
But like,
I love those guys too.
heart of gold.
Yeah.
Heart of gold. We get to the convenience store. I'm like, let me tip you. And he's like, no, man, I just needed to come get cigarettes anyway. I'm okay. I just got to get these cigarettes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, let me buy you a pack of
Sure.
cigarettes.
Right.
He's like, no, I was going to buy this pack of cigarettes anyway. It doesn't matter. He wouldn't take a tip.
He's just a very nice
Just
man.
a super fucking nice guy, right?
Yes, yes.
Love the guy. So that
Probably a fun bear.
Thank you, Eric. I genuinely, like, that was a good moment.
Yeah.
And I
moment
got
of
what I needed.
kindness.
Yeah. And I get back to the room. I feel so good because I'm like, I did this quickly.
Yep.
That means I get to sleep for like 3 hours.
Yep.
This is fantastic. I took a shower that night just to wash the travel off,
Yep.
but also to take advantage of that hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slept for
I
3
guess.
hours. Took another shower when I got up.
Was able to stand up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fully. Wow. Fully erect both ways. Yeah. And
No
then
spitting.
Yeah, a little spitting. There's a little spitting. There wasn't a Hawk Tuah, but there was a fooey.
Yeah.
Like a patwee, right? And
Yeah.
it did make that sound when it hits the spitball. Yeah.
Oh yeah, tune.
So yeah, that's what I call her. We could do a whole episode on the Hawk Tuah girl and like the state of the world.
And how like I'm like the Hawk Tuah girl to me, what it has created.
We're gonna do a whole hour on this.
All I want to say
Yeah.
is if you ever look at someone with Instagram followers or TikTok likes or YouTube views and say, this means it's good quality. The more numbers, the more quality. I point you to the Hawk Tuah girl who did nothing wrong.
No.
The situation is fucking awful.
Right.
It's insane.
And I think it's very funny that she's a person fully willing to say, like, this happened. How do I take advantage of it? And that's nothing, there is literally nothing wrong with her going, I want to exploit the situation.
Yeah.
Because the situation was foisted upon her, right?
Exactly.
Good for her for being like, yeah, I think the latest thing is like she got paid 30 grand to judge a bikini contest in Florida.
Yeah.
Fine. Make your 30K. Good for you.
Strike while the iron's hot.
I have no problem with Ms. Hawk Tuah.
No way.
What I have issue with is the entire machine that
Me too.
makes a Hawk Tuah possible
Exactly.
and makes it like she's looking at representation, right? That's when I'm like, this is when somebody asks me like, oh, stand-up comedy in 2024, what's that like? I'm like, Hawk Tuah girl. That's what it's
Exactly.
like.
That's exactly it.
It's so weird because I offered to pay $30,000 to have them let me judge the bikini contest.
Yeah. You know what they said? Hawk Tuah.
Yes.
So they did negotiate with you, and you spent 10 grand to win the bikini contest.
Did you know what?
Yeah.
But the first prize, $5,000. So really, net loss of $5,000. But the
But
fame,
now you have that credit.
Yeah.
It's crazy that
Looks great on your CV.
it's crazy that everyone in the industry of entertainment / social media, because I do feel like it's this.
Yeah.
Is just like whatever people look at, whatever they look at, let's make it. Let's make it our thing. We're gonna put it there, put it here, and I'm just like, this is so bad.
No,
this is so terrible.
That's what I feel like with this Hawk Tuah situation, where it's like, I have no problem with her. She's the perfect example of what's wrong with the whole thing.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Exactly.
So you're fully erect in the shower.
I'm fully erect in the shower, and then I go back to the airport, right?
Yeah.
At like 4 a.m.
Right.
And there's a guy sleeping over by the seaplane desk where I need to be, right? The guy turned out to be a fellow passenger on this trip.
Thinking it was the pilot.
It turns out he was a crew member on the same ship I was getting on because the two of us boarded that same ship.
Yep.
And he had to sleep in the airport the way they wanted me to sleep in the airport. But my agent thankfully was like, he has to have a room, right?
Yeah.
Poor crew guy does not have an agent saying like,
Yeah.
get him a room. But that's what they want you to do. It's
Dude, of
fucked
course.
up. They don't give a shit about their people.
That's kind of one of the things that just shocked me. During this entire thing.
They will treat you so poorly. This is why I don't want to get into the stuff with the company and all the shit, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is like if anybody goes, hey, I'm not gonna be treated this way, or like you have to treat me like a human being, or communicate with me, or whatever it is. Like I don't deserve this level of treatment. They can just be like, fine, there's 1,000 people standing behind you that would be thrilled to do it for less than we're paying you.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, so I get to the seaplane desk, 4 a.m.
Yep.
I wait for the flight. I'm sitting there, and I have to fly from Juneau to Skagway, Alaska.
Okay.
Skagway
Funny name.
is very small. The joke I was telling on the shows was like, yes, I didn't know they had an airport in Skagway, and I don't think Skagway knows they have an airport in Skagway.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting, and then 5 o'clock rolls around. Oh, they weigh you.
For the seaplane?
Oh, sorry. They weigh everything you have. They weigh. They'll weigh your carry-on. They weigh whatever luggage you have, and they ask you your weight.
Okay.
For the seaplane.
Did you tell them the truth?
I told them the absolute fucking truth. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm not lying about
You didn't do a
shit there.
90%?
Absolutely not.
I'll throw
if
out-
anything,
I'll throw
go
out an
over.
82.
Go over.
Yeah.
Do the safe thing and go way over.
Yeah,
You know
I guess
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm waiting, and then a gentleman comes to the sliding glass doors out to the runway.
Yeah.
He looks like Bob Denver,
Oh, good.
and he's dressed like
the skipper.
Tailspin.
Damn.
Right. So he's got the leather
Gilligan.
jacket, the bomber.
Ruined it.
You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
he's got a mug of coffee, and he was like the nicest guy. And he's like, "Hey, I can't remember his name. I'm blah, blah, blah.
Eric.
I'm the pilot. Yeah, I'm Eric's brother.
Yeah. Derek.
Yeah, I'm Derek. Yeah.
Derek, yeah.
They call me Sky Eric.
Yes.
And we call him Ground Derek. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to be your pilot. So
Sorry, one pops up.
Come on
He's-
with me.
He's wearing a miner's helmet. He's underground, Eric.
he takes us out. We walk out, and there's the planes, and we see the plane we're getting on, and I'm just like, yep, that's a seaplane.
Now, you're 6'7". Mm-hmm. I can't imagine.
And fat.
Well, it's more the height issue.
Sure. Yeah.
In terms
Like
of the-
I've
you're talking about the seats.
yeah, I've been on planes that are just one seat down each way, just a little puddle jumper.
Yeah.
And I struggle to fit my slightly taller than Chuck frame like into the seat to sit down.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the seaplane is large. I can't imagine you being erect in any sense of the word on the seaplane. I want to know how you fit on that seaplane.
So the seat was fine
Yeah.
because this is a plane built for utility, not travel.
Right.
Right.
So,
So
a regular airplane, those seats, you've got the armrests, you've got the thing,
Yeah.
all that stuff, the little tray tables built into it. This is not that. This is like a jump seat. Like
Yeah.
you get into that and you put on a seatbelt that's like over the shoulders.
Ooh.
Like this is a whole deal,
Also,
So-
they're not looking at it like commercially, where they're like, we got to cram as many seats
Right.
in here so
Yeah.
we can sell the most seats.
Yeah,
It's
because
not
this
really
was
the same thing.
this was the co-pilot seat, which was empty, 4 seats for passengers, and the rest of the plane was filled with mail.
Okay.
Like that's what this little
And you're pawing
Thing
through
is-
it. You're like, oh, that looks like a birthday card.
right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so I got worried about fitting in the plane only when it came to getting in it.
Yeah.
Because as we're walking, clearly somebody had said like, there's a passenger who is a big fella, and his name is Raymond Harrington, right? Because
They're like, Baloo the Bear?
yeah.
Prepare the Baloo the Bear
Yeah,
seat.
yeah.
He
Get
is-
the blue seat.
He is 53 years old and he has a birthday in just 4 months.
Yeah. So clearly somebody had said something, probably
Yeah.
the gate person, because as he's walking, he's got his cup of coffee, and we're all walking out. He's like, "That's the plane we'll be taking," and he looks at me and goes, "Ray, right?" And I went, "Yep, right." And I'm like, "Oh God," you know what I mean? And he's like, "So we're gonna have you get on last."
Yep.
And I'm like, okay. And he's like, because you're going to have the seat closest to the door. And I
Right.
was like, okay.
Oh, you're
right?
the most important emergency exit
Yeah.
guy.
So this was a plane so small, there was not a get on, up these stairs or anything like that. This was you open the co-pilot door. That gets slid forward like a car,
Yeah.
and then you get in like it's a coupe.
Is it up high or is it not?
It
that
is
hard?
up high. They have, how like at the best thing I can use is from my own experience at Best Buy when I worked there in high school. In the warehouse, they had
ladder.
stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, those stairs.
The stairs that
wheels,
are on
yeah.
wheels. Yeah, so they
Yeah.
had that.
Okay.
And that's how you get on the plane.
Yeah.
And it is a door smaller than a car door.
Cool.
For sure.
Wow.
And so he goes, so they get on, and he's like, that way you can sit there. And I'm like, cool. I'm glad I don't have to navigate to the back seats.
Yep.
And he looks at me, he's like, I think the best bet's probably going head first. Right? And I'm like, okay. And it truly was a tight fit.
Yep. Everyone, shut your eyes. I'm getting on here now. I don't want you to see my shame.
You know what? I will say, it was actually more graceful than I feared it would be.
Oh, good.
Right?
I bet.
It was fine.
I can see that.
Yeah, I was able to get in.
I can
It's
see you doing
not like I don't want to do it every day. If it was my car, I'd be like, this is absurd, right? But it is a tight squeeze.
It's funny because I know you don't like this kind of stuff. Because I remember the time in Vermont when they brought you that weird big chair at that restaurant.
Oh yeah. Oh, but that was humiliating. That was fucking humiliating.
That was crazy.
I hated it.
No, I will say this. I know you looked at it as humiliating. I do kind of feel, and tell me if you feel the same way. It seems like the only chair they had if they ever wanted to put anyone at the end of any table.
Yeah. Well, and also there were 5 of us, right?
Yeah.
Were there 5 or 4?
Well, there was Lee,
I just
me,
drew a
you,
blank.
Derek.
I guess it's only 4.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So if there was 5 people sitting at that booth,
Yeah.
no matter who, if it could be a 2-year-old, not
Yeah,
two,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
They would bring over this monstrous. It was such a big chair.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, I can't stand it. Anyway,
But I was going to say, does it change it that this is more about safety?
I guess so. Yeah. And also this was just terrifying to begin with.
Yes.
I was scared about this, right? Like I'm okay flying at this point. I used to get freaked out about it. And I will occasionally be like, oh God, we are in a fucking big metal thing hurling through the air.
Me too. I think this, I
Yeah.
think all smart adults will have this once in a
Yeah.
while.
And so this, I was just like, I don't want to do this. This is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is too much. The only thing keeping me going was like, this is a really unique situation.
Yes.
And there was a part of me that was, I think I said this to you on the phone, like the idea of saying, like if I could go and tell myself, like middle school me, hey man, I'm not even going to tell you what you do for work. But I'm going to tell you this. This isn't an everyday occurrence, but for your work, you're going to have a day where you are in Juneau, Alaska, and you get on a seaplane with 3 other people in a plane that's very much like the book The Hatchet that you're reading right now. It's that kind of plane, and you're going to fly to a little place called Skagway so you can go do your work.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
You know.
I
So
agree.
yeah, so I was that was keeping me going.
I'm gonna grow up to pan for gold.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a miner. I hear it's easy work.
Under Geriatric.
Yeah. So I get on the plane. He pushed the co-pilot seat all the way up, right?
Yep.
And I'm in there, and it's fucking tight.
Yep.
It is. I'm in, right? But I felt fine. It was more comfortable than a lot of fucking flights I've been on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we take off, and it's just he's a fantastic pilot.
Yep.
He made me feel safer, but also like the idea of that super tiny plane. When you're just flying straight, you're like, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm looking outside. Look at this. I'm looking at Alaska.
Yeah.
It's beautiful out there, right? Any turns
Ugh.
are so horrifying because the whole plane tips like sideways.
Yes.
So I look out the window and I'm looking at the ground too close to me. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
yeah.
a regular large plane.
You're so
you do bank. You
Yeah.
can see it, but it's not as severe and you're not as low.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything was fine except for one point as we got to Skagway. The wind coming around the mountains, I think, affected it. And at one point, we just dropped, like suddenly.
Yep.
And all of our arms went up, right? All of our arms went up.
Makes me queasy.
Yeah, we looked like we were going, yay! And our faces were like, I'm shitting my pants right now,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And then the big turn to do it, like a U-turn to land.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
like, we're at the height of a tree. This is
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
The only thing that kept me from freaking out was I was filming it with my
Yeah.
phone. I was videoing. Videoing?
Yeah, I think so.
Filming.
Whatever. But filming is weird. It's like, well, there's no film. You
Yeah,
know what I
that's
mean?
true, yeah.
I was phoning the whole thing.
You're
Yes.
phoning it in.
Yeah, I was phoning it. And to show Finn.
Yes.
So that was the only thing keeping me okay was I went through, and I think this says something about where we are as a society, and now I understand more why people film horrible things.
Oh, okay.
Because it made me feel safer
You feel like a spectator.
because I'm looking through the screen of my phone,
Yeah.
Yes.
not at what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then we landed. Everything was cool.
Yes.
I was like, as soon as we landed, I was like, that was super fun. I'm glad I did it. But if he said, oh, do you want to go again? I'd be like, all set. Already did it.
Yeah.
I already did this thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm fine.
So after Avatar came out, there was all these articles about people who were like sad that Avatar's not real. Do you know about this? They went through like a depression.
I explained it to you on my old podcast.
Yes, we talked about
Ray
it.
Harrington Must Content.
The closest thing I've ever felt to that is growing up and finding out that, like, you know, Kit in Tailspin, where he has the little glider and he holds on to the end of the thing and he flies and glides behind the plane and delivers mail, I believe.
Probably.
Something. When I found out that there's like, yeah, you can't do that. That's not a thing.
When you found out the bears in that cartoon, the device they use doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
The animals usually have jobs that are real.
Let me ask you a genuine question. Were you... Ooh, I was about to say, were you disappointed when you realized, but now I don't even know if he has realized yet.
Oh, no.
How are you crushed at the idea? When did you realize, if you have, that you can't swim in a big space full of coins?
It hurts a lot.
Well, it hurts if you try it. Yeah.
I don't think you can. I don't think.
No, I mean,
were
like,
you
the
to
dive?
dive?
The dive hurts. That's what I mean.
Well, were you to dive, you would not go into the pile of coins. You would simply fall on top of the pile of
Yes,
coins.
exactly.
There's no, like, buoyancy level with a big pile of metal coins.
He even spits them out.
Yeah, which is so
Unhygienic.
unhealthy. You know?
Also,
and
you
he's
could-
doing a backstroke. I'm like, you can't.
Also, you could invest that money and just live off
These-
the interest, Scrooge.
Yeah.
When you were a kid,
Tax Scrooge.
when you were a kid, did you think that the glider was possible?
I didn't really even think about that glider.
Well, you probably. So in other words, yes, you weren't like, oh, this is an impossible thing.
No, I think I was more like, this is a cartoon, and it comes on after Rescue Rangers, where like their airship is like a 2-liter bottle of soda.
There's a balloon
So it's probably
attached
not
to it, you
real.
piece of shit.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know?
But I think that animals usually have jobs that are normal. So
They sure do. Darkwing Duck, for one.
Sure.
like Bugs Bunny. Okay, he takes a hole, he throws it in a wall, and like he runs through the hole, and then I know that that's not real.
Yeah.
Because that's not his. Like he's just making up a thing in a cartoon.
Yeah.
However, if there's like a society where Louie's running a bar,
Yeah.
and Baloo is driving the plane, and the girl, the mom that he likes, is like working somewhere, all that stuff is fairly grounded because they're taking animals and putting them into society. So I didn't know that they would come up with these fake things that you could not do in real life. Do you know what I mean? That's a fair.
I know what you mean.
Yes.
You know what? Think about Richard Scarry's world.
Uh-huh.
They're all doing stuff that's normal.
Sure.
So why can't we live by those rules? I don't want to see
Right?
things that I can't do.
Jesus. Oh, that's so sad.
I don't want to see
That's
it.
so sad.
No, it's sad that I can't do it. I don't want to
I'll
be
say
introduced.
I wanted my parents' minivan to switch to a convertible like Inspector Gadget's car would.
And are you happy that you? Are you happy that it can't?
You know what? I want to live in a world where I can do that.
That's fair. That's fair.
These are identical thoughts.
Yep.
All right.
That's what this podcast should be called. Identical thoughts.
So so that was probably the highlight was
Yeah.
that one trip on the plane.
That Chuck wasn't on a glider behind your plane.
No, it's just like it was like a 40-minute flight. That's probably the highlight because it's something I think a lot of people pay money to do,
Yeah.
and it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then all the other stuff. Like as soon as I got off of that,
Yep.
I then went and stood by the ship while they were like getting all the disembarkation stuff ready.
Mm-hmm.
And it was me and one other crew guy, and we're standing there, and it's freezing cold, and it's whipping wind and it's probably at this point what 5:45 a.m.
Yeah.
The wind is like whipping. And they just leave us standing there for a long time, long enough where the security guys, they have these little plexiglass booths that they stand in to protect from rain and wind. They took pity on us and let us stand in those things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like it's that kind of thing. Oh, you're here. Your luggage. Go stand over there.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that. But so I want to get to a couple other things. But it turned into that kind of comedy.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
the next hotel was in Juneau. I think it was after that trip. It was in Juneau, and I was happy to have that night in the hotel. That was awesome. And then at 5 a.m., there was a fire alarm, and I had to get up and go outside. And there were genuinely people there that I think myself and 3 other people went outside.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? And I was talking to another guest entertainer the next day. And he's like, why'd you go? And I'm like, because I knew it was probably a false alarm, which it was. It was a false alarm.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
What if it's not?
What if it's not? I also don't want to wake up if I do in a room that's on fire or full of smoke and
Right.
go, I should have left when the alarm went off. You know what I mean?
Of course.
It was crazy. It was it's ridiculous. But it was so funny because in that hotel there were a bunch of guest entertainers for different ships the next day.
Right.
And all of we would see each other and go, guest entertainer. You'd hear somebody say something. What ship? Yeah. I'm on this. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, 21 days. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, me over here. It was like fucking Vietnam vets meeting in a bar.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it felt like. And then I want to say the couple of positive things.
Yes,
Because
please.
it's all been negative. There was a super sweet moment on one of the ships. I was doing a show, and often there were children in the crowd.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why people do it. It does change the dynamic of the show. I hate that.
Of course.
But whatever. But there was a kid, I ended up doing crowd work with this kid who was 12 years old.
Wow.
Right? And it started with just there's a small child in the front row. You know,
Yeah.
I'm making jokes like that. So I started talking to him. His name was Nicholas. I asked him, I was like, well, as a comedian, when you do crowd work, you ask, what do you do for work? So what do you want to be when you grow up? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
He said he wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
And then I made some jokes that were positive.
Yeah.
Not shitting on him.
Right.
But positive stuff about that kind of idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And, everything went well. The show worked. And then I got off stage. And then one of the stage people came up to me after the show and they said, some people would like to see you.
Uh-oh.
And I go out and it's Nicholas, his older sister, and his mom.
Okay.
And Nicholas is fucking beaming, 12 years old.
Yeah.
He's so happy. And I start talking to him and I ask him about the acting thing.
Yep.
What kind of acting do you like?
Right.
This and that. And I was just kind of saying, I think that's super cool. I hope you do it, do it now. Just try and do as much as you can. You're young and it's going to be fun for you to do that stuff. And I was like, do it until it's fun, until it's not fun. And
Yeah.
if it ever stops being fun, go find something that is, right?
Yeah,
and I
sure.
said that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he was the smile on his face was so big and it was so wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did feel like, okay, this kid is really close to Finn's age.
Yeah.
And I felt in that moment, I was like, this is a moment for this kid.
Yeah.
Yes,
you know what I
for
mean?
sure, without
He
a doubt.
thinks I'm a big deal.
Yep.
Yes.
Because I was the guy on the show.
Exactly.
And it was so wonderful. You know
Oh,
what I
that's
mean?
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And then the next day, I spot him. I was going through my own admin bullshit of dealing with a thing, and I'm
Yep.
waiting for something to happen. And there's a big crowd of people, and he spots me, and I see him,
Yeah.
and I just gave him the biggest, goofiest, dad wave possible.
Yeah.
Just full body wave to him. He's lights up. He waves to me, and then I left. And it was fun because I'm like, I know he was like, oh, the comedian, and I'm already gone.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And it made me feel so good to be like, I
great.
had this nice positive moment with this kid.
No, that's great. That's
Yeah.
probably, it's one of those things where they're going to be 20, he's going to be 25.
Yeah.
And he's going to be talking to his family and he's like, remember that cruise where, and he's going to remember it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
I think that's
awesome.
really wonderful.
Yeah,
you know,
it is. That's great.
I just hope he doesn't get involved in anything bad. I hope there's not a Nickelodeon situation that happens to him.
Yeah.
Because then he's gonna be like, and that fucking guy was like, yeah, go do it till it's not fun. Well, it's not fucking fun anymore.
Man, what
You
if
know?
he's the Dan Schneider?
Ooh.
He's like, you know what? I'm going to be in charge of all these kids. And then he does all this weird stuff.
I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Encouraging.
I encouraged a 12-year-old
So did he.
to do what? Yeah.
Terrible.
It's just so fun. And then I will say another positive. The seaplane was a positive. Nicholas was a positive. I did learn something that was interesting. The last ship I was on was also the last run for a few people, a few
Okay.
of the other entertainment people, the long-term entertainment people,
Yep.
the dancers, the musicians, people like that are on for 4, 5, 6 months at a time.
Ooh.
And on this ship, there was going to be turnover, right?
How much do you think that they transfer ships the same amount as you do?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Some of them go the full time on one ship, and that's usually how it goes.
Oh.
And then sometimes they might pull you and put you on another ship, but
But it's not the same at all.
usually it's no, they're on long term.
Okay.
That, and then they have their relationships and they do all the stuff, and
Yeah.
they've got buddies and shit like that.
Yeah.
So on this, they recently lifted the rule that I couldn't go to the crew bar.
Really?
Yeah. So
Why would they have that rule? Who cares?
Crowbar.
COVID.
Crowbar is what you're thinking of.
Yeah. So no,
They shouldn't let him near a crowbar either during this thing.
but like I don't have access to a lot of the crew side stuff.
Right.
I'm thinking of it like Titanic, where it's like he takes her down. They have the hoedown. Remember that part?
Yeah. No, those were the third class passengers that you saw.
Yeah,
on Titanic.
Ray was below them.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you could hear them stomping,
Yeah.
low downing.
Yeah. So that was the tapping I was hearing. Yeah. It was Leo, putting the boots to her in that car. Meanwhile, that guy with the car, he's like, this car stinks. Sorry, anyway. So
No spitting.
this car's filled with spit. It's like somebody Hawk Tuah it all over it. What's that sound? Oh, we're dying. So the crew bar, once I found out I could go there, that's the only thing I have access to. I can't use their laundry. I can't go to the store that they have. I can't do anything else. So it's so dumb, right?
It's insane.
Yeah, everything I need to do, like I can't go to the cafeteria that they have or anything like that. I sleep in the crew side at the very front of the ship.
Right.
Everything that I have to do is all at the back of the ship. So like waking up in the morning, do the king's chair, take the shower, go through the rigmarole, get out into the passenger side. Hopefully you haven't done shows yet. Otherwise, as soon as you open that door, you're going, oh, the comedian, that stuff everywhere you go. If I want to do laundry, I'm walking a football field down to the laundry area and doing laundry there.
Carrying your laundry.
Yeah, if I want breakfast in the morning, if I want a cup of coffee, if I want to have a glass of water, whatever, back of the ship. Doing shows, back of the ship, all that stuff. So anyway, the crew bar was one floor down from me in the crew section.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to see what the crew bar is.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I would be so interested.
Right. So I go in, and the closest thing I can describe to it is Alien.
I thought it was going to be like Cantina scene in Star Wars.
No. It's like Alien. It feels like when they're all hanging out on the ship.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It looks like that. It kind of has a vibe. There's a pool table. There's a foosball table. The foosball table, like they take it fucking seriously.
That's like Alien's a good comparison, but also The Thing in Alaska.
Yeah.
Because they kind of are stuck there.
Antarctica.
Antarctica.
Yeah.
And they have the pool table. They have the
Right.
arcade.
Yeah. It's like that.
Wow.
It was fun to
That's
watch.
kind of fun.
Yeah. It was, but I don't know any of the crew.
Yeah,
the crew
if you
don't
don't
know
know
me.
them.
The first night I went down there, I opened the door and walk in, and it was like a
Silence.
record scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they look over and they're like, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it was interesting.
Yeah.
After a little time,
After you hustled them at foosball, they were probably more
I
upset.
had to Hawk Tuah a couple guys.
Yeah.
but
But did it.
It was interesting with the foosball table, like to watch. I think it was a Russian guy, like a Jamaican guy, a South American guy.
We do all the accents.
Yeah, and then a guy like from I don't know, like the Philippines, and like it was a 2-on-2 game. And watching them do that, I was just like, this is like unifying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Rainbow
like what
connection.
you hope the Olympics would be.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't destroy a fucking natural ecosystem.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was really weird to be in there.
Yeah.
I didn't really engage too much. But I wanted to so the last ship, there's a bunch of long-term entertainers getting off of the ship.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is the last part of their run. I remember talking to a woman who was a cellist, I think.
Okay.
And she's like, I did this with my friend. We signed on for a 4-month contract, and then we extended it another month. So it's been 5 months. I get to leave in 2 days. I'm like, that's awesome. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. I'm like, for me, it's been 3 weeks, and I'm already like crawling out of my skin. And she's like, I was only on one ship, but she's like, I'm so sick of it. I can't wait. I can't wait to be away from like the ship food,
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we're having this moment. And the shows on that,
And then you look in her clear purse.
yes, yes, no. So the shows on that ship were really, really fun. There were 2 ships where I was like, these shows were fun.
All right.
I had a good time doing them.
Yep.
And like felt like I could be fully me, right?
Yeah.
2 of the ships out of the 7. There were also 2 of the ships out of the 7 where I was like, this is the worst.
Yeah.
I am selling a little piece of my soul
Yeah.
for each show.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And then the other ones were just fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was work, but I did the job well.
Yep.
They all had a great time, but it was work for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how it was. So this last ship, just like a little bit of murdering happening,
Yeah.
right? Like a little slaughter is going on in the back of the ship, so I did very well, and I'm in the back little section where only crew can be outside,
Okay.
and it's like where people smoke cigarettes and stuff, but it's like the door to that is the backstage area for
Yeah.
me. So I'm just out there like cooling off. I was pouring sweat, and so I'm just hanging out, maybe have a cigarette, whatever, and crew people are there, and I meet a bunch that are like leaving.
Yeah.
I meet the HR woman for this ship. She's a lovely lady. She's from London.
Yep.
We talked about London for a little bit. She was super nice.
Good.
And like really like warm. She's like, yeah, sometimes I come out to see the comedian.
Right.
She's like, a lot of times they're not great, but you were really funny. And I'm like,
Nice.
oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And she was like super friendly. And she's asking me like what's going on later, because I have to leave the ship the next day.
Yep.
She's like, oh wow, you're leaving tomorrow, and she starts asking some more questions, and I'm like, this lady's really nice. I wish I
Yeah.
had met you earlier. And then she has to go inside, and then I start talking to the cellist, and the cellist is talking to me all about this stuff. She's very nice.
Yeah.
She's really inviting, and there was another woman with her that was very nice and very inviting, and I'm like, this is so cool,
Right.
And then the cellist is like, so listen, tonight, a lot of the entertainment people, we're all going down to the crew bar because a lot of us are leaving.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we're gonna be down there, and you should come. You should come and meet some people.
Yeah.
And I'll be there. And she starts like leading a little
Yeah.
bit, and my dumb married for so long brain finally clocked that it was more than just being friendly.
Yeah.
The dog was jumping up on her.
Yeah. I think on the third time I saw her, huge bush is the phrase. Yeah.
Big bush.
Big bush.
Big bush.
Big bush.
theory.
That's what they called HW. Yes. Big bush and little bush. But no, I realized like, oh, right.
That's you kind of wipe your nose with your hand showing off your wedding ring. You're like,
Yeah.
I'd love to.
No, I can't go to the crew bar. I have to FaceTime with my wife.
Why can't you just go and be friends? And like, maybe she won't even try anything.
So number one, I had to leave the next day at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my last show was at 10:30. So this is probably around 11:15.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta leave.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And I can't wait to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also one of the ways I've maintained a healthy marriage and relationship is when there is a clear situation that can happen,
Yeah.
I simply do not go. Right. So
I'm just thinking about how much fun you'd have with all the other people, though.
literally the only what I realized was the cellist that invited me, the other woman that was super nice and inviting,
Yep.
and the HR lady that was super nice and inviting. What I realized was by the end of a contract for long-term entertainment people, they can't wait to get off the ship and are so horny.
Yeah. I like
They've been on the ship
The
this whole
cellist is
time.
like, I don't know if you watch me perform, but I can spread my legs really wide.
You can't be platonic friends with these women?
Yes, I'm sure you can. In this specific scenario where I was going to be on the ship for another, 6 hours?
Yeah, I know. I get it.
Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to be buddies.
It's a sticky wicket. I'll give you that.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it was just...
It would have been sticky if you had gone to the party.
This is the problem. Me in this long-term relationship and being married, I'm like, don't go. Like I'm not missing out on much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't go for a super long time because I have to leave. I have to be
I just want to be part of Alien.
I know, but I have to leave at 5 a.m.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
It's
how
like-
are,
I get it.
how are you going to defend your foosball crown?
Right, yeah.
Oh, I believe me, I get it. I mean, even
The Filipinos gave me a name.
there's been times where I'm 100% single and interested in somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta get up so early tomorrow.
It is a thing, yeah. But then
yeah.
also, I just don't want to be in that scenario.
Yeah.
And have to, it's a thing as a stand-up, you know, like people invite you to things after a show or you know, a hangout happens after the show or whatever. And it does become a scenario sometimes where you have to just be like, hey, I'm gonna go home now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be here when this tips, you know?
Yeah.
But it was just funny to realize, we've talked about this, the idea of being like so dumb to the situation with women.
Yeah, your Snapple fact.
Yeah. Well, it took a good while, and it took the third woman that I interacted with that was clearly kind of, they all saw the show.
Yep.
They liked what I was doing. They were about to get off the ship, meaning they had been stuck on the ship for 4 or 5 months, just like a horny sailor coming into port. You know what I mean? And they were like, look, it's new meat.
Oh.
It's a lot of meat, but it's new meat.
You're saying that basically you were the siren song, and they should have put wax in their ears.
What I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying anything egotistical. I'm saying they had been at sea long enough for me to be a real fucking option. You know what I mean?
I'll say this.
Not even the best option, just a solid option.
I'll say, you know what? I'll bet your show was that good. I'll bet if it had been their first night at sea, it would have been the same.
I
knows?
bet if you would have gone to the crew bar, you would have been like, hey, why are you guys testing each other's blood? Yeah, I'll get in on this.
Yeah. Hey, have you ever? Oh no, I feel like it's the cellist going. You ever watch The Thing? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, remember when that one guy ends up becoming like a weird little head? Do you like little head? Do you like a little head? What? And it's like she's leading, and I'm still totally oblivious. Totally oblivious. She's
You're like, you know, a lot of the effects on that film were practical. And
Yeah,
she's like,
you're like, oh, I liked it. The spider legs grew out of it.
yeah, it was cool. It was super cool.
you know, at the end, McCready drank gasoline.
Yeah. How do you like that ending, that ambiguous ending of like, what's going to happen here, you know? How do you like to feel about it? And she's like, I like a happy ending. I'm like, I think we all like a happy ending, but it's like, you know, and I'm just so oblivious. It's to the point where she's like, yep, my vagina's sure bored right now. You know, and I'm just like, huh? Yeah. But it was very funny. It was maybe you had to be there to like
I love
just
it.
like
No,
the
it's funny.
moment of like realization for me of going, oh, you know what I mean? It was very funny.
No, that is funny.
And it is the idea of like them being at sea that long, where they're like,
Wow.
any port in a storm, give me that big fat boy.
Literal
you know?
port.
Yeah.
Right? You know
Port
what I mean?
Lee.
No, I meant because of the ship.
But that was a fun, like, weird positive, right?
Yeah.
It was just a unique experience. And then finally, I'm going to tell you probably my favorite, like, 5 seconds
Okay.
of this entire 3-week ordeal.
Yeah.
It was genuinely hell.
Yep.
And I don't want to do it again.
Right.
I just want to say right here and right now,
Uh-huh.
I don't think that women go on cruise ships, make bad decisions on their last night at sea.
All I'm going to say is last night at sea, that's when they're at their most desperate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They are truly like, I'll
Really,
take
any
whatever. Even if it gets me in a sloppy long-term relationship. I don't care. Even if it's like a long-distance relationship. I'll fucking deal with it.
They're looking, why did I do that? Oh, siren song. Yeah.
Wasn't even that good of a song.
Davy Jones's locker gets me again. That's so funny.
I love it.
You best be believing in a romantic comedy. You're in one. That's from Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's so good.
You best be believing in a relationship. You're in one.
That's the clinically insane captain.
Yeah. But imagine me with a skeleton face. You're in one. And it's just all he keeps saying.
That's great.
So yeah, it was very funny. But so this moment happened, and man, you know how sometimes you might overhear a thing.
Yes.
Oh, I hope you overheard something.
I did. You overhear. He's so easy. He's so
No,
easy.
see, like fucking Tailspin is like, sometimes you overhear a thing, you're like, yes, and they're like, nah, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Somewhere out there's somebody going, I overheard this guy talking about how disappointed he was when he found out that little bear from Tailspin's hang glider isn't physically accurate. It can't happen in the real world.
Oh, the show with the talking anthropomorphized animals.
Yeah. The bear that wears the jacket and flies the plane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You feel like shredding in that thing would be fucking killer. Tell me how much. I just see him swinging this way and I just feel like I could really. I never found an extreme sport that I was good at.
Yeah.
And I thought that
Bear
would be
gliding would be it. Bear gliding.
You know what, Chuck? I'll get my pilot's license.
All right, how's he doing? And it shows the thing just spinning behind the plane.
Brad, don't get your pilot's license. Find a bear and get that bear a pilot's license. Just so you
I
can
want it
have,
to be true to the show.
I want the FAA to be like, there's nothing in the rule book.
I made a mention of King Louis on the show to Ray during the thing, and I was like, oh, you're like King Louis, and you're like, I'm sure that's an insult. I don't have time to look up King Louis.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not. It's his job. He runs the airport bar.
Gotcha.
Which is
Okay,
cool.
yeah.
He has a little hat.
All right,
Yeah.
Ray's best 5 seconds.
Sorry, I'm still in this whole idea of the bear.
Okay.
You know?
I love it.
I think if you want to take them to flight school, take them where they trained those 9/11 guys. Because they're desperate. This particular flight school would take a bear.
Yeah. Mhm.
They're like, our reputation's ruined to begin
Yeah.
with.
Yes.
This can only help us.
we need some positive
Any publicity
PR.
is good publicity. Yeah.
And then that's when the bosses goes, I told you last time, we found out that's not true. That any publicity is good publicity. We found out the one time where it's bad publicity.
They're trying to think of ideas, and they look up and like there's Air Bud on that TV, and then like a chimpanzee playing baseball on that TV,
And then Tailspin.
Yeah, Tailspin. He's like,
It's most valuable primate. He plays hockey.
all right.
Yeah, and he's really like,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there was a chimpanzee playing
There's-
baseball movie as well.
Well, there's that other time we tried to rehabilitate the whole reputation of the flight school when we had Harrison Ford fly that little plane. We thought a celebrity would really help
Yeah.
us, and it didn't. It
did
didn't
not.
help
It
us.
did not, no.
It didn't help us. So here's the moment, and I want you to imagine I am in the fully in the throes of the depression of this trip.
Right. Great Depression.
Lost in translation style, I am surrounded by people and lonelier than I've ever been in my
Yep.
life, right? And dealing with extremely frustrating, we joke about like Chuck like losing it in the post office, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
Day one, he would have been screaming that. At that first hotel, when they were like, we don't have a room, you'd be like, I'm going to...
But before he screams it, he has to warm up his voice for an hour.
Yeah. I'm gonna kill myself. So like it's madness. It's chaos.
Yeah.
There were a couple of times on the trip where I genuinely was like, I need to calm down because this is unhealthy.
Yeah.
I think I might have a heart attack. You know what I mean? Like my blood pressure is through the roof.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And you're dealing with like, you're in your most vulnerable state where, I've been traveling. I got 3 hours of sleep and then I traveled all day long. And I'm at this point now and I've dealt with nothing but problems to get here. And I can't even get in the room to just be a person, without this particular situation getting cleared up. Anyway, I'm in the throes of it, fully depressed. I can't talk to anyone about what I'm about to hear.
Right.
It's just me alone hearing this.
Yeah.
The one night I went to the actual dining room to have dinner.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to go have the real dinner. I go, I sit down, I'm dining. Usually I put my headphones in.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to put them in, and then I heard a couple at the table just kitty corner to me having a conversation. And I stopped because I knew this was a good conversation. This couple, elderly.
Got it.
All 3 syllables.
Yeah.
Fully elderly. More elderly. Wow. Yeah. So the husband, I did not see the husband. I saw his back.
Okay.
Classic elderly back.
Got it. Hunched.
Hunched. It said, I am Joe Biden on the back of his shirt.
Yeah.
Classically elderly.
Yes.
Actually, he did kind of look like a Joe Biden.
All right.
And his wife, the best I can describe is, if you worked at Central Casting in Hollywood and you had a list of little old lady.
Oh, okay.
She's at the top of the list
Got
for
it.
casting.
Good.
She's the perfect little old lady.
Yeah.
I think there's a little old lady in I think an Adam Sandler movie. Maybe it's Happy Gilmore because
No,
he
it's-
has the grandma.
It's
Yeah.
the grandma. You're thinking of Wedding Singer, and it's the woman that gives him the meatballs. In
I'm thinking of a specific moment where she goes, "What? No," like that.
Yeah.
But either way,
Yeah.
classic movie level little old lady.
Got it.
yeah.
Sweet little voice.
Oh, maybe
you
you're
know.
talking about when Adam Sandler's grandmother is reprimanded by Ben Stiller's
Yeah,
character.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what maybe somewhere
That's
in
Happy
there.
Gilmore, yeah.
She's sitting there. They are having some kind of conversation. I'm just hearing like little clips and phrases that I'm like, this is something. And then I hear her say, BTK was a greedy little killer. And he was a little dweeb too. And that was the line.
Dweeb is great.
Right?
An old lady saying dweeb about a murderer is so fun.
Everything about that sentence delights me to no end.
Especially overhearing it because
Yeah.
you don't know what preceded
They
it.
were talking about serial killers,
Of
right?
course.
And the husband's not saying much. Like after she said that, he's like, "Oh yeah," and then like that's it. The idea that this extremely elderly woman, this like 80-something, maybe 90-something elderly woman, is talking about serial killers. Already, that's insane and
Right.
funny. The phrase "a greedy little killer."
Weird phrase.
That's
Greedy.
really weird.
Yeah.
Greedy is like, oh, he just got greedy.
Yeah.
He would have gotten away with it, but he got greedy.
It's funny because greedy little killer makes you feel like she might also be a killer or a part
Right,
of a
right.
killing family.
Yes.
I'll say
But
that
then dweeb.
Yeah, and he was a little dweeb too.
you can bind and kill. You can torture and kill. When you bind, torture, and kill, that's just greedy.
He's just greedy little killer.
Wow.
And then little on
Yes.
both of those
Right.
Yeah,
also
little.
adds to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that she said, again, this is why scientifically what I overheard was perfect. All of the things that we just described, and then going, BTK was a greedy little killer. Meaning they were
They were
talking
having-
about something, and then she was like, BTK?
Yeah. So
BTK was
what
a greedy
the
little
topic of
killer.
conversation?
Right. Like they were
Yes.
talking about greedy little killers.
Yeah, exactly.
And then she remembered BTK.
Yep.
It was amazing. I just stopped and like reveled in it. I tried
You
to
stand
get
up,
more.
you applaud.
I love it.
It was absolutely amazing. But
love
I
it.
couldn't share it with anybody. That will live with me forever.
Yeah.
The idea of true crime is hugely popular.
Yes.
But it's also a younger thing, right? Like it's
Right.
a podcast level kind of thing, or documentaries on streaming services. This little old lady, I can't even imagine her logging into Netflix.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? The fact that this woman is so invested in serial killers.
I wonder, did you even think, like, I could go ask them what they're talking about? Excuse me, I'm sorry. I thought I overheard you talking about BTK.
No, I never want to be that person. You know what I mean?
I've never done it either.
Yeah.
But in this situation with two people who are like geriatric,
Yeah.
it feels like there's so little to lose. It's
Yeah,
like you
but
could ask.
I think the answer's in what she was saying, right? Like,
I
we
guess
were
so.
talking about serial killers,
Yeah.
right?
This is like when Brad overheard that droopy clit thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess
I'm not going to give the rest of the story.
Well, we've talked about it on
Yeah.
Funbearable.
Yeah, I know.
But no, it is so wild to me, and I love it so much. You have to picture the quintessential tiny little old lady.
Yeah.
And with that little old lady, tiny
Dweeb
squeaky
is-
voice.
Dweeb is so good.
So he was a little dweeb too, right?
It's so
amazing.
judgmental.
Yes.
It's- yeah.
It makes me feel like this couple is a serial killer couple,
Right.
where when they were younger, they murdered a lot of
Yes.
people,
Right.
Yeah.
a lot of
But they
drifters.
were cool about it.
But they
Mickey and
killed
Mallory.
so many. They buried everybody, right?
Yep.
And now they're old. They don't do it anymore. So they just talk about like the ones that are.
Yeah.
And like, well, what I would have done different,
Right.
right? And it was amazing. He was a little dweeb, right? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Both sentences are great, and they're really pulling in different directions.
It's amazing. Here I am floating in the middle of the fucking Pacific Northwest in the Pacific Ocean, and just that's what I hear, and it lived with me for like a full day after,
Yeah.
where I
Oh,
was just
that's
it was
great.
over and over in my head. It was
I'm jealous.
yeah, it was wonderful. This is getting really long, so I will wrap with the last day.
Okay.
The whole thing, I feel really shitty coming on and being like such a downer about this whole trip.
It happened
without being like entertaining about it. Like the
we're having
goofy
fun.
of this. Yeah, no, we're having fun with it. It's just mostly just like here's my list of complaints.
Yeah, I get it.
And I can't be clear enough to make it super entertaining
Right.
because
Yeah.
then I lose
Yeah.
work.
Yeah,
right.
this isn't an expose.
So what did you call me? Expose Ray.
Expose Ray.
Yes, when you live in Montreal.
We're gonna go down to the crew bar and expose Ray. Like, huh? You're gonna be a foosboy.
Ray was a greedy little.
I was trying to go with the thing.
He killed on the show, but he was a greedy little killer.
And
He was a little dweeb. He was a big,
He was big dweeb, yeah.
He was a big dweeb. Also, dweeb.
Yeah, dweeb is the best.
Dweeb.
I love hearing a word like that. I
The only-
love hearing this stuff.
Hearing it and in that voice, all I can think of is the secretary Grace from Ferris Bueller.
Oh,
They
yeah.
think he's
me
a
too.
righteous dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
The Sportos, the Wastoids, the
Yeah.
Dweebies.
Yeah,
they all
yeah.
adore him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I go through this whole experience again, like the comical level of frustration, and there's always a problem around every corner, and to the level where I expected it for every situation. And I was still like, I was impressed. I would
Yeah.
laugh it off and be like, I'm genuinely impressed that they came up with a new way to fuck it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the last day that that night, I made sure to get all my information, and they're like, "We're gonna slide a letter under your door that'll have all the information there too."
Good.
And when I got done with my last show, the one I was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna go to the crew bar," right?
Yep.
I get in there and I open that letter and it says, "We see that you're staying on for the next leg of the cruise. Don't worry, you don't have to change rooms." And I just laughed
Yeah.
and I just ripped it up and threw it away because it like that's where we are with this.
Right.
No one talks to anyone. Everyone has a different idea, and they're all mad at you for asking about it. Right? Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, so I'm fine. I'm leaving. I am so fucking overjoyed to be going home. Right. I get off the ship in Seattle, and I'm flying to Rhode Island, Providence Airport. I have a connecting flight in Washington, Dulles.
Yes.
I fly to Dulles. I get off the plane. I get over to the airport, and we're talking about a 90-minute flight to
Right.
get to Providence. After 22 days, I'm that close,
Right.
90 minutes away. I'm feeling good, and the universe waited just long enough to pull that rug. Like made sure I got real comfortable standing on that rug because I was standing by the gate. I even went up to the gate and I was like, you know what? How much is a first class ticket?
Yeah.
Right? It's a little ass plane. The first class seat is going to be laughably dumb.
Right.
I don't care.
Yep.
And the lady was like, it's $113. So I went, let's do it.
Yeah.
Right? I don't give a shit. It's a 90-minute flight. I would never spend that to do that. But for this moment, this
Yep.
is
It's
the
triumphant,
last
yeah.
hour and a half.
I made it.
Yeah. And I know when I get on, they're going to give me like a glass of water or whatever. I've been traveling all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's now, I think it was like 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
It was 10. It was 10.
Yeah.
You'll know why in a minute. It's a 10:30 flight. It's 10 o'clock. I'm like, let's do it. I get that. And I'm standing there and I'm texting Kalina, you know, I'm going to be home at midnight.
Yeah.
Like 11:59 is when we're supposed to land. And Finn knew about it. My son, Finn, for any new listeners, you're very far in for being brand new. He wanted to originally...
We heard they talked about Hawk Tuah, and we wanted to hear their take.
Yeah, the algorithm.
Yeah, the algorithm. What the fuck is this, right? So,
I don't know why they were Southern, but they are.
I clicked on this because I thought there would be a like mid-attractive Southern girl talking about spitting on dicks.
Yeah.
And it's three boys.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, so Finn had said he wanted to do the classic thing that he's seen, I think, in movies. He wanted to meet me in the airport when I got off. He wrote a sign,
Good.
"Welcome home, Daddy," you know, all that stuff. And it's very nice.
Yes.
And I had said, hey, I'm not getting home until midnight.
Yep.
We can't do that. However, I will wake you up.
Yep.
When I get home, this is the first time we're going to do this. At midnight, I'm going to come in. I will wake you up.
Yep.
And I'll give you a hug, and I'll see you. We'll talk for a couple of minutes, and then you're going back to bed, right? And so I'm just thinking about that. I'm talking with Kalina. I'm feeling so good. Like, God damn, 3 fucking weeks. I
Yep.
can't believe it. The universe is letting me just get so hooked on this. You know, get your hopes really high, right?
Yeah.
And then I see everybody going to the desk, the gate agent, and I hear canceled. And then I'm like, what? And I look at my phone. They canceled the flight 30 minutes before it was supposed to take off.
Cool.
Everybody's asking questions. Some guy's angry. He's like, what about a hotel? And they're like, we don't do hotels if it was air traffic control that called for the cancellation. They called the cancellation for airspace congestion.
It's weird. Seems like that's a thing you can plan for.
Right. And it's also odd that only United flights got canceled for this congestion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck? It's 10:30 at night at this point.
I'm going to call Juno Eric and see if he'll fly me home.
Right. Sorry, I'm late. I had something else in my eye. I got Hawk Tuah. So, I would have given anything to just ride with Eric for the whole day. It would have been amazing. But it's 10:30. Like,
Yep.
what fucking flight options are there? You know.
We were looking up flights for
I
you.
was just going. I was you jumped the praise. I was
Yeah.
going to give you guys praise because it was so sweet. I really do appreciate it. was texting with you guys about this. I'm like, I can't fucking believe this.
And this
it's
is
the
like-
last fucking step.
And this is like, we're texting since day one. So the issues have mounted. And it was getting all the way there. We're like, you're almost there, buddy.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, things that I would say to Ray were closer to like, well, there's only a couple days left. Like, this is the last thing. We were
Yeah.
like, this is the last ship. Like, we kept like, I was trying to be like, you know, your future's on the horizon.
Yeah.
So the flight was literally the final thing.
Yeah.
It truly,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
after a huge marathon, and
Yeah.
it's like I am one step from the finish line.
Yeah.
And it was
So when you were texting us, that was in my
Yeah.
head.
yeah, it was like heartbreaking.
Yeah,
And
I know.
And then United, I asked the gate agent, I'm like, I don't care about a hotel. I like flight.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? And this is where you would have, Chuck, you would have pulled a fucking knife and held it to your own throat.
Yes.
She went, oh yeah, here, and handed me an already crumpled from the pocket, like foldy business card.
Yep.
That was already wrinkled up. And on that business card was a QR code to go to the United website and talk on the phone to a virtual assistant.
Nice.
What are we doing?
Yep.
Yes.
I am here.
Yeah.
You, a person that works for United, handed me a card to walk away and go speak to a computer on your website.
Right.
Why? Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's when you guys were texting me. I am fucking furious.
I know.
I just want to go home. And all I'm thinking about is like, likely they're going to say a flight tomorrow.
Yep.
But after all of this, the last thing I want to do is go to another fucking hotel
Yep.
and stay in another fucking
my
room
God,
and
no.
extend this out further, right? And so I think I texted you guys at one point, like, because you guys were texting back, like, "Hey, I'm on, Google. I'm looking
Yep.
up flights."
Yeah.
That was super. I really do appreciate it.
Yep.
The thought counts so much.
Yeah.
In the moment, I was like, I got to just figure out what the fuck's going on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had to leave the airport because I was in the regular gate area.
Yeah.
And you can only get to arrivals from that area.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yep.
Nobody is working at any of the gates or anything like
Nope.
that. So I'm navigating Dulles Airport, and I had to ask a security guard, like, how do I get to departures?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's where a gate agent will be. They're like, oh, you have to go outside, walk down this thing, and go in. I get outside. It's the day that like crazy heat wave.
Yes, sure
Yeah.
was.
At like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, it was like 96 degrees outside.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm dressed in still like Seattle clothes. Like I have jeans on. I'm
Supersonics jersey.
I'm fucking dying. And so I finally get there. All these people from United Flights are getting to the line, and they're all furious.
Yep.
Some of them are trying to cut in line,
Yep.
right? We didn't make our connection. And people are like, no. We're all fucked. We're all mad. Get in line, right?
Yeah.
So I finally get up to the gate agent, and I was like, "Hi, I'm one of the mad people."
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I said that.
Yeah.
I was genuine about it, and so she's looking at options with me, and there's no flights for that night, obviously, And then the best options, I was looking on the flight stuff too
Yep.
for other airlines like you guys were.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of them kind of sucked, all
Yep.
of those options. And then some of the stuff that she was showing me was like, oh, you'll fly to Houston. And then from Houston, you'll fly to Providence. I'm like,
Yep.
what? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. I want to add hours on a flight.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know? So she's going through those options with me, and she's like, this is the look, here are the two best options we can give you.
Yep.
One, same flight tomorrow.
In the evening. Yeah.
Yeah, 10:30
Yeah.
at night. And I said, so you want me to wait 24 hours, get my own hotel room, and then come back here for the same flight you canceled 30 minutes before it took off?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I can come here and you do it again?
Yeah. Right. Of course.
No.
Yeah.
The best option she could give me was 6 a.m. the next morning, fly to Newark.
Yep.
And then there was like a 30-minute, 20-minute connection to go from Newark to Rhode Island. And when she said it, she went, I mean, you might make it,
Yeah.
right? With the connection time and where it's coming in.
Right.
And I was like, okay, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. So I was like, fuck this. I was looking at the time. I did a quick Google Maps. How far away am I?
Yep.
It was like 6.5, 7 hours. And I was like, I'm going to rent a car.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
going to fucking rent a car.
At that point in time, it seems like there was no option flying wise that would get you home in the same amount of time, even
Yeah.
that would take you to drive.
Yeah.
And you don't have the negatives of just like sitting there uncomfortably doing nothing as you wait for stuff. Because when you drive, at least for me, at least you feel like you're accomplishing
Yeah.
something all the time.
I
Moving.
was saying, like, because I was texting with Kalina, I was like, every mile I drive is just a mile closer to home. I would rather be actively getting home,
Right.
Yeah.
instead of just sitting here for whoever knows how long,
I
right?
know.
So I had to call like the cruise line's travel hotline.
Yep.
Because that's what you have to do. We'll talk about that off mic. But the woman I spoke to was really kind. She was like, we could get you a hotel. But I was looking at the time, and I'm like, so if it's a 6 a.m. flight,
Right.
because the option to wait for the next day's late night one,
Insane.
that's off the fucking table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 6 a.m. flight. By the time we get a hotel booked,
I know.
and I get this shuttle to whatever room,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm getting there at 1 a.m. for a 6 a.m. flight at a fairly busy, shitty airport that I'm going to have to get up at like 3.
Yeah.
I had the
You
same
know?
thing when they recently extended one of my. Basically, they were like, "We're going to put you on a new flight, and it's 13 hours from now."
Yeah.
and I was in LaGuardia, which is an hour and 30, an hour 40 from my place in Staten Island, and I was like, doing the math in my head of like, if I want to leave, at what point will I be back somewhere comfortable, and at what point will I have to leave that
Yeah.
place to be back here on time for this thing?
Yeah.
it's maddening.
Right. And then the other option is just waiting in the airport,
Right.
right? Which
Right.
is, maybe I sleep. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, if I do all of this, and let's say I even make the connecting flight, I'm not going to get any sleep, whether it's at a hotel or an airport.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take this flight and get in at like 11:30 a.m.
Right.
I'm like, I'm going to go home and go right to sleep. Right?
Sure, without a doubt.
Yeah. And if I drive overnight, I'm going to go home and go right to sleep.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I will be up probably around the time I would have gotten home.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. You're gonna be there so much faster.
Yeah. And all I was thinking about was Finn.
Yeah.
This was my dad moment where I was like, I said I would be there to wake him up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. No matter what I do, I won't be there at midnight to wake him up.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can be there when he wakes up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
and
yeah.
like that was the fucking driving force.
Yeah.
And so it was nice to have that moment. But yeah, so I went over to the rental agency. Thankfully, it was cheap.
Yep.
Did they pay for it? Did the cruise pay for it?
No.
You got a Tesla Cybertruck.
Right.
But don't they get the refund of the plane ticket?
This is an off mic conversation
Okay.
because it involves a third party.
Yeah, I understand.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm
Man.
just surprised. That's all.
Another party. You're so popular.
Cellist.
Cellist, yeah.
HR women. But yeah, so it's
What a G-rated joke.
they should absolutely refund me for that. However, there was another very annoying. There's another really big part of this entire trip that made it frustrating that I don't want to bring it up.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Sure.
But there was another player in all of this.
Yeah.
So, and it was laughable at a certain point.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I just took care of it.
Yeah.
So whatever. Anyway, so I get the rental car. I'm surrounded by people that are just super pissed.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I've been dealing with bullshit for 3 weeks. I'm like, no. I'm a pro. I'm
Yep.
fucking furious right now, but I am like tunnel vision on solution.
Yep.
Not let me take it out on these people. It's not their fault.
Right.
They are just as mad about this situation as you are.
Yeah.
They just get to go home at the end of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, there was a guy trying to rent a car at the Hertz that I was at, right? And I think it was 11:30 midnight by the time I got there. Half of the rental place is closed.
Yep.
Hertz
Oh,
was
yeah.
like one that's open, and they said like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we only take reservations. You have to do it online."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You have to do it online." And this is what.
Yeah.
What do you guys do here? Do you rent cars to people?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to rent a car.
Yep.
And you won't rent me a car?
Yeah.
Hey, babe. No, they won't give us a car. Babe. They won't rent us a car at the rental agency. And he's doing
Yeah.
that shit. And I'm like, dude, just move the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
Do what I did. Do it on your fucking phone in 3 minutes
Yeah.
on the way here on the shuttle bus.
Yeah.
That's what I did, right?
Yeah, right.
Go do it. Stand in the corner and fucking rent a car.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
Right.
Anyway, sorry. So I get the car and I drove. I drove from Washington, D.C. to Providence, overnight.
Any sleepy moments where you're like, and then you wake up and you're driving through a cornfield.
thankfully-
People are tooting their corn horns.
Thankfully, the time difference kind of saved me on
Oh,
that because I
yeah.
was used to being, the time changed like so many times during the trip
Yeah.
because I would be on these ships
That's so crazy.
where there's 3 time zones that you go through.
Yeah.
And so I would be anywhere from 3, 4, and 5 hours
Okay.
behind
Yeah.
Eastern
Yeah.
Standard Time.
Yeah.
Right.
So thankfully for me, I was like, I'm going to get in at 6 a.m.
Right.
But for me, that's only maybe 2 a.m.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right,
bright
right.
side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? That's when I go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I'll be okay. And I
Yeah.
think just the energy that was given by the idea of like I'm going home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was a huge part of it. I was so happy to be in that car and driving. I
Yeah.
like to drive anyway, so it wasn't a challenge and it was the least amount of traffic that's going to be around.
That's true.
Especially going through New York. Still hit traffic before the fucking George Washington Bridge. So
Dude.
fucking annoying.
Dude, every time I've driven like at night, like late at night, I've hit traffic recently. Last night I drove
Yeah.
from New York to here and I got in at like 3:30 in the morning here and I hit traffic at like 1:45.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I know.
So doing that really, just that energy level of like, I'm getting home.
Yeah.
And I was really happy to be, because even at the airport, I'm on rails.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
at the airport. I can only do certain things. I don't have real freedom.
Yeah.
And this 3 weeks was, you don't have any freedom.
Yeah.
For 3 weeks. Yeah, you work when you're on stage, but when you're off stage, you're not working.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So everything is work. So I was just happy to be
In charge.
in charge of my own thing.
Right.
I'm driving.
Did you get a candy bar or something?
You were the captain now.
Yeah, I'm the captain now. I'm the insane
I'm clinically
captain now.
insane, yeah.
Yeah.
The clinically insane.
That and podcasts. Like I listened to some podcasts
Yep.
and drove, and I was so happy to be of my own free will.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
doing what I wanted. And then by the time I got to like Connecticut, I was like, I said out loud, like, I know these roads.
Yeah.
I was born here. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was a thing where I'm like, I'm finally after 3 weeks, like back in home territory,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I stopped at I think I stopped like twice to pee
Yep.
at rest stops. The rest stops in Baltimore are horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it. And that was it. So I had to answer your question. I had some peanut M&Ms
Yeah.
The healthiest M&Ms.
and closest to trail mix, right? And I had something else. Oh, I had Keebler club crackers with cheese on them.
Hell
Ooh.
yeah.
You know,
I'm loving it.
yeah,
That's great.
That was my
My fuck you, I'm getting home.
That was my dinner. Truly, right? I was like looking for something in Baltimore, and I was like, this is all bad.
Yeah.
They had like pre-made sandwiches. No joke.
Yes.
I lifted one up.
Uh-oh.
The whole shelf of the refrigerator thing was all water. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
I don't want E. coli or salmonella. I'm all set.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was so happy to just be driving, and I got home. And Finn had only woken up like maybe 15 minutes prior.
Right.
The kid came running out.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful moment.
Good.
Yeah.
And then I was home. But it was crazy. It's like the whole thing was so bad that quite truly driving 7 hours overnight after having traveled all day long was delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was good.
Was freeing.
It was one of the positives. It was one of the highlights of the trip. Versus like, what if this was any other situation? I'd be like, what the fuck? Can you believe this?
Yeah.
But at that point, I was genuinely just like, fine.
Yeah.
You're gonna have somebody punch me in the stomach as hard as they can. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Just let me go home.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
dude, it's
You
it was-
Hawk, I'll Tuah. I don't
Yeah.
care.
it was hellish just hearing about it.
Yeah, it sucks to try and communicate it on the podcast because of the dalliance that has
Right.
to be
Yeah,
done. You know what I mean?
I think people get it. Though.
I don't wish it on anyone. It's bad. I don't know how. I was about to say, I don't know how like the long term people do it on the ships, but they only have to go through the travel part of it at the beginning and the end.
Right.
Yeah, it seemed like it was like every time you had to make any kind of change, there was an issue that was unforeseen that you couldn't control.
Right.
And when you take that out of it, it really changes what it is.
Yeah, and it's hard when it's like it's ever changing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So 7 ships means 7 onboarding, 7 offboarding,
Right.
7 logistical things, really 14 logistical situations to
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
And every one of them was broken.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's it. So it's unfortunate I did not meet Alaska Ray this time at all. There
all right.
wasn't a second, and that bums me the fuck out.
You know what?
Yeah.
It really does.
Hotel room shower, Ray.
Yeah. Oh, he's different. He's a rough guy.
King's chair, right?
Yeah, but it's. I think the saddest part of the whole thing is like it took a little bit of the shine off of my experience the first time.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And that's what sucks is like on my iPad when I read comics, right? It used to have the background used to be a shot that I took when I was in Alaska the first time.
Right.
And I think by the end of week 1, I changed it on my iPad. So I'm like, no, it just reminds me I'm here.
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
reminds me I'm here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So hopefully after a little bit of time, I can kind of process and flush a lot of the experience that I had
Right.
Yeah.
and hold on to Alaska Ray.
Yeah.
Because it was fully Steve Martin throwing his briefcase in Trains, Planes, and Automobiles,
Yeah.
or Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, whichever one it goes.
Yeah.
It's trains.
Yeah, and I just it's hell.
I mean,
It's hell.
you have Nicholas Ray, you have BTK Ray.
BTK Ray, yeah. That old lady, man. Man, every once in a while, it's nice to be like, I wonder what she's doing right
I
now.
love the
yeah.
dweeb.
What's that? Oh, she passed. I'm so sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
On the
Yeah.
ship.
I heard it was a Dexter killing. Dexter got her, found her.
Little dweeb.
So amazing, so amazing.
That was the table that was like actually next to them. Your kitty corner and Dexter was next to them.
Yeah, I heard that they actually got on the ship. They like to cruise a lot in the northern areas because they spent so much time in Argentina. They moved there in the 40s, I believe.
Yeah, like mid 40s.
Yeah, mid 40s. They moved to Argentina.
I don't remember why.
Yeah, but that's amazing. An elderly woman, like, not only having a conversation about the BTK killer,
Yeah.
but also having her own unique take
Yeah.
on the BTK killer.
Two different unique takes, I gotta say.
A greedy little killer, and he was a little dweeb too.
I love
That's
it.
great.
So that is a lot of fun. Listener, viewer, I hope you enjoyed the weird story. It's hard to encapsulate the weirdness of that. I think at the beginning when we were talking about the fear of being institutionalized when you're not insane.
Yep.
That's what I was.
That was
felt like that.
That was this episode?
No, if you think about it, like every cabin looked the same,
Yep.
and the cabin, because it's a crew side cabin, it's institutional.
Yes.
And I did start to feel like a prisoner or something like that. And you're eating this like essentially cafeteria food the whole time. And it's like, I am in some kind of institution.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
A sucker
everybody's
punch
telling me
moment.
I'm crazy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'd like to know when I can go to the room. What? You know what I mean? I'm supposed to leave tomorrow and go to another thing. How?
So why don't you sit
oh
down?
my God.
Yeah.
This guy wants to know how to leave. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but
I
it
know.
was that was the experience. Thank you for listening. I do appreciate it.
I'm glad
and
you're
I wanna
here.
thank you both for being like a little lifeline that I could text you guys and be like, this is fucking happening.
I
You
was
know what mean?
I was delighted we could still communicate with you during this trip.
Yeah, I felt really bad.
Yeah.
I felt terrible. I was like, I don't know what else to do besides just be like, hey, buddy, hope you're having a good day. I remember one day I woke up, I texted you, and I said, hey, buddy, remember that time we got chicken marsala pizza? That was so fun. And you wrote back, yeah, it was. This is hell.
Yeah.
I mean, I just look forward to seeing what the Fun Bears in the Facebook group do meme-wise.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to be Ray as like from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's gonna be a lot of Hawk Tuah.
Yeah, well, and like Chuck,
Hoping for the bush lady.
Chuck with the tailspin glider,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you know. But like,
yeah.
I feel free to do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Brad in a
Meme
straight
makers.
jacket.
That's that. You don't need to Photoshop that. There's plenty
No,
of
there are
those out there.
pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ray.
By the
we're-
way, why do we have to call it a straight jacket? It's 2024. Do we need to know the sexual proclivities of this jacket?
No.
That's not straight. You're like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something else.
We are glad you are back safely and
Thank you.
mostly soundly.
I think so.
Yeah. And folks out there, we thank you so much for sticking around with us past 100 episodes.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, just feel free to send us an email, funbearablepod@gmail.com, or find us on socials at funbearablepod. Always happy to hear from y'all.
And I apologize if this was kind of all over the place. It's so hard to fully describe it while maintaining a few things that are
Which of our episodes are
curtain
not
closed.
all over the place?
Yeah, I know. Maybe I feel bad about it because it's just complaining and it didn't get crazy enough.
I think we threw in
Does
enough.
that make sense?
I think we
Mundane
threw in
crazy.
enough gross sex stuff to keep
Yeah.
people entertained.
And another shout out to
You're welcome.
Juno Eric. Juno Eric, man,
Juno Eric,
you
actor
were really
Nicholas.
special.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you. I hope
Baloo
you
the
got
pilot.
that thing out of your eye.
Yeah.
I,
Still there.
That's what I'm hoping.
Medical miracle. The Alaska
funny.
Journal of Medicine.
so fun. Wow, do you think I conjured Hawk Tuah girl because I was so delighted by the sign at that hotel that said no spitting?
Yes. 100%. Well, we'll have to check the date and timestamps. But
That was a crazy part about this trip because the internet is so bad on the ships.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you still have to pay for it. Isn't
Good.
that fun?
Good.
Isn't that
Yeah.
fun? And the price was different on every fucking one.
Nice.
Why? Why is it different in your system for these ships?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to pay for a full week, even though you're only there for 48 hours.
Cool.
And it ranged anywhere from $12.99 to $18.99.
Yeah.
nice.
So anyway, but the internet is so shit, and you're out there and you're doing this. I didn't even think about this. That 3 weeks, maybe this is a positive. I didn't know what was going on.
That's true. Yeah.
No news.
Yeah.
Oh.
Every once in a
I
while,
could go
I
for
would
one of
hear
those.
people talking about a thing, and I could look at that,
Yeah.
or if I was at port, I would look at some stuff, maybe check Twitter or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, I didn't know. By the time I got off the ship, our pop culture and conversation of what happens in current events moves so fast now.
Yes.
There were 5 big things that had already
They came and
happened.
went.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I was like, hey, I can't believe, people would be like, oh my God,
So you're still bringing this
Yeah,
up?
that was 3 things ago.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah.
It really
No, I
was.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Nice.
Yeah, our phones are going to kill us.
They sure are. Well, folks, for Ray Harrington and Chuck, what was it? The
Anus slip man?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Staten. I'm Brad Rohr saying thank you so much, and we're sorry for being Funbearable.
Wouldn't it be like Chuck Anus Lipman? Something like that?
That's what he uses to check into a hotel.
Amos Lipman.
Amos Lipman.
It's Chimp Spootin and Amos Lipman.
Chip Spootin.
Chimp Spootin. Chimp Spootin was a greedy little killer. He was a little dweeb too.